Yeah, shalom, Israel. Shalom. Happy Sabbath. Those of you online, shalom. Happy Sabbath. Speaking of lust and desires, tonight I'm going to go over a class called Modern Sodom and Egypt. Because I keep seeing it. It's a reoccurring thing on television, videos, music. It's just homosexuality is just like spiraling out of control, man. It's becoming like overwhelming to the point where I felt it necessary to go over it. And how this nation is like really forcing it down our throats. It's one thing, you know, it's around, we see it, it's there, but then you have it on every show, you know, radio show, cartoons, movies, images in the train, billboards. It's like they're flooding our minds with this stuff. You understand? So I'm going to go over that tonight. Genesis 10, verse 19. Genesis chapter 10, verse 19. Now, we're going to go into the history of Sodom, all right, and how America is, in fact, modern-day Sodom and Egypt. Genesis 10, verse 19.
This is the book of Genesis, chapter 10 and verse 19. And the border of the Canaanites was from Sidon, as thou comest to Gerar, unto Gaza, as thou goest unto Sodom.
That's city 1.
And Gomorrah.
City 2.
And Admah,
3,
and Zeboim,
4,
even unto Lasha.
5 cities. Now Sodom and Gomorrah were the capitals, but there were 5 cities in total. All right, read on.
These are the sons of Ham, after their families, after their tongues, in their countries, and in their nations.
So you had Hamites, these are the Hamites' capitals. All right. So now let's get chapter 11, verse 10.
Genesis chapter 11, verse 10. These are the generations of Shem. Shem was 100 years old and begat Arphaxad 2 years after the flood.
Arphaxad, go ahead. Our forefather, go ahead.
And Shem lived after he begat Arphaxad 500 years and begat sons and daughters. And Arphaxad lived 530 years and begat Salah. And Arphaxad
he lived 530. No, he lived 530 years.
I'm sorry. And Arphaxad lived 530 years and begat Salah. And Arphaxad lived, and he begat Salah 403 years, and begat sons and daughters. And Salah lived 30 years and begat Eber.
He begat Eber. That's where the word Hebrew comes from. Eber. Go ahead.
And Salah lived 30 years and begat Eber. And Salah lived after he begat Eber 403 years and begat sons and daughters. And Eber lived 430 years and begat Peleg.
Peleg, go ahead.
And Eber lived after he begat Peleg 430 years and begat sons and daughters. And Peleg lived 30 years and begat Reu. And Peleg lived after he begat Reu 209 years and begat sons and daughters. And Reu lived 32 years and begat Serug. And Reu lived after he begat Serug 207 years and begat sons and daughters.
Keep going.
And Serug lived 30 years and begat Nahor. And Serug lived after he begat Nahor 200 years and begat sons and daughters.
Now we're getting there. Nahor. Keep in mind Nahor. Go ahead.
And Nahor lived 29 years and begat Terah.
And we got Terah. Go ahead.
And Nahor lived after he begat Terah 119 years and begat sons and daughters.
So now we're getting somewhere. Nahor and Terah. Go ahead.
And Terah lived 70 years and begat Abram, Nahor, and Haran.
So Terah gave birth to Abram, who we knew who our forefather is Abraham. Nahor is brother, and Haran. Go ahead.
Now these are the generations of Terah. Terah begat Abram, Nahor, and Haran begat Lot.
And Haran begot Lot. So Haran was the father of Lot. Go ahead. Abraham's brother. So it's not, Lot would be Abraham's nephew. Go ahead.
And Haran died before his father Terah in the land of his nativity, in Ur of the Chaldees.
So Terah ended up passing away. So that leaves Abraham. No, keep going. Not Terah. Go ahead, keep going.
Verse 29. And
Haran died. Yeah, that left behind Abram and Nahor left. Those two are left. Because Haran died before Terah did. Their brother died. Go ahead.
Verse 29. And Abram and Nahor took them wives. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai.
who became Sarah. Go ahead.
And the name of Nahor's wife, Milcah, the daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah, and the father of Iscah.
Go ahead.
But Sarai was barren, she had no child.
Uh-huh.
And Terah took Abram his son, and Lot the son of Haran his son's son, and Sarai his daughter-in-law, his son Abraham's wife. And they went forth with them from Ur of the Chaldees to go into the land of Canaan. And they came unto Haran and dwelt there.
So Nahor won his way, Abraham won his, and Terah went, and Abram won his way. Go ahead.
And the days of Terah were 205 years, and Terah died in Haran.
And that's when Abraham left to go to the promised land. Now, let's go to Genesis 13. 13, verse 1.
The book of Genesis, chapter 13 and verse 1. And Abram went up out of Egypt, he and his wife, and all that he had, and Lot with him into the south.
So Lot went with Abraham. Lot stayed with Abram. Go ahead at the time. His nephew. Go ahead.
And Abram was very rich in cattle, in silver, and in gold. And he went on his journeys from the south, even to Bethel, unto the place where his tent had been at the beginning, between Bethel and Hai, unto the place of the altar which he had made there at the first. And there Abram called on the name of the Lord. And Lot also went with Abram, had flocks and herds and tents. And the land was not able to bear them, that they might dwell together. For their substance was great, so that they could not dwell together.
So Abraham got rich and Lot got rich. They couldn't stay in the same place. They had to separate from this point. Both of them were wealthy. Go ahead.
And there was a strife between the herdmen of Abram's cattle and the herdmen of Lot's cattle. And the Canaanite and the Perizzite dwelled then in the land.
Go ahead.
And Abram said unto Lot, let there be no strife, I pray thee, between me and thee, and between my herdmen and thy herdmen, for we be brethren. Is not the whole land before thee? Separate thyself, I pray thee, from me. If thou wilt take the left hand, then I will go to the right. Or if thou depart to the right hand, then I will go to the left. And Lot lifted up his eyes and beheld all the plain of Jordan, that it was very well watered everywhere. Before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, even as the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt, as thou comest unto Zoar.
Right.
Then Lot chose him all the plain of Jordan, and Lot journeyed east, and they separated themselves the one from the other.
Yeah.
Abram dwelled in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelled in the cities of the plain, and pitched his tent towards Sodom.
Towards Sodom, go ahead.
But the men of God were wicked and sinners before the Lord exceedingly.
Men of Sodom. Read again.
I'm sorry. But the men of Sodom were wicked and sinners before the Lord exceedingly.
They were doing wickedness in their lands. I'll get chapter 18, verse 18.
Genesis.
So Lot ended up grabbing land over there near Sodom. And the actions of the Sodomites over there was wicked as hell. And the Lord was getting tired of seeing it. Genesis 18, verse 18.
Genesis chapter 18, verse 18. Seeing that Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him. For I know him, that he will command his children and his household after him, and they shall keep the way of the Lord, to do justice and judgment, that the Lord may bring upon Abraham that which he's spoken of him.
Because Abraham kept the commandments. Abraham was righteous, and Lot was with him, righteous as well. Read on.
And the Lord said, because the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is very grievous, I will go down now and see whether they have done altogether according to the cry of it, which is come unto me. And if not, I will know. And the men turned their faces from thence and went towards Sodom.
The angels, go ahead.
But Abraham stood yet before the Lord. And Abraham drew near and said, wilt thou also destroy the righteous with the wicked?
Go ahead.
Peradventure there be 50 righteous within the city. Wilt thou also destroy and not spare the place for the 50 righteous that are therein? That be far from thee to do after this manner, to slay the righteous with the wicked, and that the righteous should be as the wicked, that be far from thee. Shall not the judge of all the earth do right?
Uh-huh.
And the Lord said, if I find in Sodom 50 righteous within the city, then I will spare all the place for their sakes.
Yeah.
And Abraham answered and said, Behold now, I have taken upon me to speak unto the Lord, which am but dust and ashes.
Yeah.
Peradventure, there shall lack 5 of the 50 righteous.
So Abraham's trying to make a deal because you had Hebrews that were there. He goes, well, what if there's 45 righteous? He's trying to bring the number down so the Lord don't destroy the place. Because Lot was over there. He goes, you going to kill everybody over there? He goes, look, there's 45 righteous rather than 50. Go ahead.
Peradventure, there shall lack 5 of the 50 righteous. Wilt thou destroy all the city for the lack of 5? And he said, I will find there 40 and 5. I will not destroy it.
Go ahead.
And he spake unto him yet again and said, Peradventure, there shall be 40 found there.
Okay, what if there's 40? He's going down. What if there's 40 is righteous over there? Go ahead.
And he said, I will not do it for 40's sake.
Now, Abraham can ask this question because Abraham was the Lord's friend. He's the only one of the most scriptures referred to Abraham as a friend of God in caps. Abraham and the Lord were very close. So Abraham can talk to the Lord like that. Okay, what about 40? What about 45? What about... He can do that. He's trying to make a deal with the Lord. And the Lord said, okay, well, 40 for your sake, well, 40, okay, I'll spare. Go ahead.
Verse 30. And he said unto him, Oh, let not the Lord be angry.
Okay, Lord. Don't be pissed off now. Go ahead.
And I will speak. Peradventure there shall 30 be found there. And he said, I will not do it if I find 30 there.
Go ahead.
And he said, Behold now, I have taken upon me to speak unto the Lord. Peradventure there shall be 20 found there. And he said, I will not destroy for the 20's sake. And he said, Oh, let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak yet but this once.
Okay, but one more time. Go ahead.
Peradventure 10 shall be found there. And he said, I will not destroy for the 10's sake. And the Lord went his way as soon as he had left communing with Abraham, and Abraham returned unto his place.
All right, get 2 Ezra 7:36. So Abraham was like, listen, okay, spare for 10, at least 10. Spare for 10. He said, okay, for you, Abraham, I'll spare for 10. 2 Ezra 7, verse 36. That's where Ezra's got it from.
The book of 2 Ezra, chapter 7 and verse 36. Then said I, Abraham prayed first for the Sodomites, and Moses for the fathers that sinned in the wilderness.
So Abraham prayed for his people in Sodom, and Moses prayed for his people in the wilderness. That's the point I'm bringing out. Get Genesis 19, verse 1. That was 2 Ezra 7:36. Get Genesis 19 and verse 1.
The book of Genesis, chapter 19 and verse 1. And there came 2 angels to Sodom at even, and Lot sat in the gate of Sodom, and Lot, seeing them, rose up to meet them. And he bowed himself with his face toward the ground.
You knew what it was. Go ahead.
And he said, Behold now, my lords, turn in, I pray you, into your servant's house, and tarry all night, and wash your feet. And ye shall rise up early.
So he's telling these angels to wash their feet. So these angels are spirits, and they have what? Bodies. Correct. Wash their feet. Go ahead.
And go on your ways. And they said, Nay, but we will abide in the street all night.
Nah, we're going to stand here. We're good. We're going to stay out here. Go ahead.
And he pressed upon them greatly.
Said, please don't stay out here. Please, it's not good in these streets. It ain't good here, man. It's hood here. Go ahead.
And they turned in unto him, and entered into his house, and he made them a feast.
Oh, go ahead.
And did bake unleavened bread, and they did eat.
And they ate. They ate and had feet. Wow. Spirits and eat and got feet. Go ahead.
But before they lay down,
And they can lay down because they have bodies to lay with. Go ahead.
the men of the city, even the men of Sodom, compassed the house round, both old and young.
Wow. Old and young.
Old men.
Yep.
All the people from every quarter.
Surrounding his house. Go ahead.
And they called unto Lot and said unto him, Where are the men which came in to thee this night? Bring them out unto us, that we may know them.
Now, may know doesn't mean conversation. May know means know them. Lay with them. Go ahead.
And Lot went out at the door unto them, and shut the door after
Lot
him,
comes out of his house and closes the door behind him. Stands in front of his front door. Go ahead.
and said, I pray you, brethren, do not so wickedly.
Don't do this. You don't know who these guys are in this house. Don't do this. Go ahead.
Behold now, I have 2 daughters which have not known man. Let me, I pray you, bring them out unto you. And do ye to them as is good in your eyes. Only unto these men do nothing. For therefore came they under the shadow of my roof.
Take the women instead. Don't take these men. Don't deal with them like that. Go ahead.
And they said, stand back.
Get out of here. Move. Move. Go ahead.
And they said again, this one fellow came in to sojourn.
This guy came to live here. He comes moving here in Sodom. Go ahead.
And he will needs be a judge.
You think he can tell us what to do? Think he a leader now, a judge over us now? Go ahead.
Now will we deal worse with thee than with them.
Now we're going to do worse to you than we're going to plan on doing to them in your house. They're going to rape all three of y'all now. Go ahead. These guys is filthy, man. Go ahead.
And they pressed sore upon the man.
They start pushing Lot into the house to get to them. Go ahead.
Even Lot, and came near to break the door.
Go ahead.
But the men put forth their hand and pulled Lot into the house to them and to shut the door.
So they pulled Lot into the house and shut the door. Go ahead, to shut the door.
Look at the bottom of verse 9. Read 9 again, the bottom part of verse 9. And they pressed
sore upon the man, even Lot, and came near to break the door.
You realize what kind of demonic spirit got to be on these men that they almost broke the doggone door? Huh? That ain't no lust for a woman. They lusting for men. That's what you got to see the filthiness behind what, you know, the Lot, if you don't move, we're going to rape you. Go ahead, Deacon. Go ahead.
Verse 10. But the men put forth their hand and pulled Lot into the house to them and shut to the door. And they smote the men that were at the door of the house with blindness.
So the angels just put their hand up and blinded these men through the door. The door's closed. The angels like, whoosh, and they all blind. Oh! So now they can't see. So now all the men that are outside the door, all the men that surrounded the house are blind now. Go ahead, watch this.
Could you imagine that scene? Blind men, old blind men.
And young.
Old blind men. Old.
Go ahead.
Both small and great.
Old and young, young and old. Go ahead.
So that they wearied themselves to find the door.
Stop. So after they got blinded, they were still trying to find a way into the house. Even blind. That's how nasty these dudes. They was like, okay, I'm blind. I can still rape him though. I can still rape him. Penis still works. Eyes are gone. Penis still works. But y'all rape him. These guys are vile and evil as hell. That spirit comes behind that. That violent, evil spirit. Get Revelations 11 and 7. Revelations 11 and verse 7.
The book of Revelation, chapter 11, verse 7. And when they shall have finished their testimony, the beast that ascendeth out of the bottomless pit shall make war against them, and
America, go ahead.
And shall overcome them and kill them.
Oh, talking about us. Go ahead.
And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city.
The dead bodies is out as Israel's dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, city of Babylon. Go ahead.
Which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt.
America is that great city, which spiritually is not the actual Sodom and Egypt, but it's the spiritual version of it, of Sodom and Egypt. Go ahead.
Where also our Lord was crucified.
Where his image and identity were crucified, made him white, died for everybody. His gospel, his image, everything about him was crucified, was killed. All right? So here in America, remember, outside of America, like Germany, Russia, and the European countries, they know the Messiah is black. That's nothing new to them. They have images of the black Madonna and Messiah all over Europe. They have a picture, I think, of Putin bowing down to one of the black saints over there in the wall. So they know over there, outside, America is a bubble. America is the main place where Israel's identity is kept a secret. Amongst the other nations, they know Israel's Jane. They know Israel's black. They know that already. They know who we are. But America is that place where we're a secret, that best kept secret. All right? That bubble, right. So it says here, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt. Why is it called Sodom? Because homosexuality is running rampant here and stronger than ever before, as it was in Sodom and Egypt. And it's Egypt because all 12 tribes, the bulk of all 12 tribes are here in captivity. That's why. That's why it's called spiritually Sodom and Egypt. And America upholds the customs and traditions of Egypt. On back of the dollar bill, you have the all-seeing eye. You have the eye of Ra, all that stuff. Because America adopted Egypt into itself as well, enslaving God's people and so forth. All right?
That's Sodom spirit, man. Could you imagine two big, husky Sodomite men fighting? That is an ugly scene. Huh? Nasty as hell.
Let's get Proverbs 21, verse 16. Proverbs 21, verse 16. So their dead body shall lie in the street of the great city.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 21, verse 16. The man that wandereth out of the way of the understanding shall remain in the congregation of the dead.
Our nation as a whole is in the congregation of the dead. We are dead. We are zombies out here. We're the walking dead. That show is about Jake. The movie, the show is about Israel. We are the walking dead out here. Lack of knowledge, lack of self, lack of God's laws, identity. We're just a walking dead. We're zombified out here. That's why they even call us zombies. Either heathen call us that to mock us. Let's get Baruch 3 and 4. So the same way America is spiritual Sodom and Egypt, we are spiritually dead here, within that dead spirited land.
The book of Baruch, chapter 3 and verse 4.
Yep.
O Lord Almighty, thou God of Israel, hear now the prayers of the dead Israelites.
Of the what?
Of the dead Israelites.
Of the dead Israelites. Go ahead.
And of their children, which have sinned before thee.
That's why we're dead, because we sinned before and we wander out of the way of understanding. Go ahead.
And not hearkened unto the voice of thee, their God. For the which cause these plagues cleave unto us.
The curses that make us dead. Jump down to verse 9.
Verse 9. Hear, Israel, the commandments of life.
That will remove us from being dead. The commandments of life will keep us from being dead. Go ahead.
Give ear to understand wisdom.
Right. I mean, give ear to understand wisdom rather than wander from it and become dead. Go ahead.
How happeneth it, Israel, that thou art in thine enemy's land, that thou art waxen old in a strange country?
That we are waxing old in the strange country, which is our enemy's land. Go ahead.
That thou art defiled with the dead.
That we are dead, spiritually dead, defiled with the dead. Go ahead.
That thou art counted with them that go down into the grave.
We are counted with them as if we're dead. We are counted with them that are actually literally dead. We're acknowledged as a spiritual, as a dead people. We're not even in the ground, like those who are actually in the ground. Go ahead.
Thou hast forsaken the fountain of wisdom.
We have wandered out of the way of understanding. That's why he said, hear the prayers of the dead Israelites. You are waxing old in the strange land and are defiled with the dead. Go ahead.
For if thou hast walked in the way of God, thou shouldest have dwelled in peace forever.
You wouldn't be dead. Go ahead.
Learn where is wisdom, where is strength, where is understanding, that thou mayest know also where is length of days and life, where is the light of the eyes.
Enlightenment. Go ahead.
And peace.
Right. Let's go to Wisdom of Solomon 19, verse 10. Right before Ecclesiasticus. Wisdom of Solomon 19 and verse 10.
The book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 19 and verse 10. For they were yet mindful of the things that were done while they sojourned in the strange land. How the ground brought forth flies instead of cattle, and how the river cast up a multitude of frogs instead of fishes.
Read verse 10 again. Now this is Solomon giving an analogy regarding, he's weaving in and out of the history of both Sodom and Egypt. Watch. Read verse 10 again.
For they were yet mindful of the things that were done while they sojourned in the strange land.
The strange land was referring to us in Egypt. Go ahead.
How the ground brought forth flies instead of cattle.
Right, the plagues, the plagues. Go ahead.
And how the river cast up a multitude of frogs instead of fishes.
Right, go ahead.
But afterward they saw a new generation of fowls. When being led with their appetite, they asked delicate meats.
Right, that's the quails. Go ahead, he's going to say the next verse.
For quails came up unto them from the sea for their contentment.
Right, as I saw about Israel. Go ahead.
And punishments came upon the sinners, not without former signs by the force of thunders.
Right, punishment came upon the sinners, referring to what the Egyptians just did to us. Go ahead, that's referring to the Egyptians. Go ahead.
For they suffered justly according to their own wickedness, in so much as they used a more hard and hateful behavior towards strangers.
So the Most High punished the Egyptians based upon their behavior towards us when we resided in their land. Go ahead.
For the Sodomites did not receive those whom they knew not when they came.
So he's giving you an analogy between what Egypt did and what Sodom did. So when Israel entered into Egypt, over time they mistreated us and did us evil. Read verse 14 again.
For the Sodomites did not receive those whom they knew not when they came.
When the angels came, they didn't know them. They wanted to rape them. They didn't know these guys. So the same way Israel was mistreated, being strange in the Egyptians' land, to them, us being strange to them, they mistreated us. The Sodomites were mean towards those they didn't know as well, who were strange to their cities. He's giving an analogy. So he's giving an analogy between the two. Go ahead.
But these brought friends into bondage.
But these brought friends into bondage, meaning the Egyptians brought us into bondage. Because remember, Joseph and the Pharaoh were cool. So over time, they forgot Joseph and started to mistreat us. Go ahead.
That had well deserved of them.
Right, because Joseph, if it weren't for Joseph, there'd be no Egypt. Remember the famine for 7 years? Joseph was the reason that Egypt survived. So they went from being our friends to turning to our enemies. Go ahead.
Verse 15. And not only so, but peradventure some respect shall be had of those.
Some understanding should be had of them. Go ahead.
Because they use strangers not friendly.
Right, they used us not friendly. Go ahead.
But these very grievously afflicted them.
Us, go ahead.
Whom they had received with feastings and were already made partakers of the same laws with them.
Right, because we were under the same laws and regulations as the Egyptians. And they still mistreated us while we were under their rule. Go ahead, in their land. Go ahead.
Therefore, even with blindness were these stricken, as those were at the doors of the righteous man.
So the Most High struck the Egyptians with blindness. Why? Because remember, he made the whole place dark. So they couldn't see nothing. The same way the Most High struck those wicked men in Sodom with blindness for their same wicked actions against strangers they didn't know. Go ahead.
When being compassed about.
Verse 17 again.
Therefore, even with blindness were these stricken.
The Egyptians are stricken. Go ahead.
As those were at the doors of the righteous man.
Of Lot's house. Go ahead.
When being compassed about with horrible dark.
That's how the Egyptians are blinded, with that plague of darkness that surrounded the land. Go ahead.
Everyone sought the passage of his own doors.
Like those men sought the passage of Lot's door to try to rape Lot and the angels in the house. Go ahead.
For the elements were changed in themselves.
Oh, is that all I want? Let's see. That's all I want. That's all I want. Let's go to 2 Peter 2:6. 2 Peter 2, verse 6. So Solomon gave an analogy of how the Sodomites would treat those they didn't know with the comparison of the Egyptians treated those they didn't know. Over time. Remember that over time, a new kingdom came into power, the 18th dynasty came into power, and they forgot about Joseph and didn't care about us no more in their land. The Egyptians treated us as strangers as well.
The book of 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 6.
2 Peter 2, verse 6, yep.
And turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes, condemned them with an overthrow, making them an example unto those that after should live ungodly.
So Sodom and Gomorrah was made an example, condemned with an overthrow of fire and brimstone, as an example for those who decide to follow the same lifestyle as they did back then. Go ahead.
And delivered just Lot, vexed with the filthy conversation of the wicked.
Because Lot heard that nasty, filthy talk every day like we do in his room. On television, media, billboard, you see it. It's all around us all the time. They keep pushing it. Like it's some struggle or something. You get it, they try to say gay is the new black. That's the most biggest insult on the planet. Gay is the new black. I don't know any gay-only restaurants, any gay Jim Crow laws being passed. I don't see any homos being lynched from tree to tree. I don't see any homos being brought in slave ships because they're gay, or any gay-only restaurants they can't enter into, or straight-only restaurants, or straight-only water fountains. I don't see it. I'm not seeing it. Where is it? That's nonsense. We were not brought here because being homosexual is an option. That's a choice. That's something that they choose to be. We didn't choose to be black. Most made us that way. They didn't make them that way. That was their damn choice. Trying to compare our struggle of them hating us for our skin color to them liking penis in their mouth. That's a big difference. So there's a big damn difference, man.
They understand clearly that what that shows you is that they have absolute utter contempt for black folk. To compare us to a lifestyle that people choose and to say that.
Let them try to compare themselves to so-called Jewish people.
Exactly.
Let them try that with them. That.
But that shows you that they hate us.
You know that black folks aren't going to defend themselves.
Right. Hey, and a lot of time you all said the homosexuality started with the Greeks. But we reading where it started from. It started with them, with Ham. Yep. You understand? That's where it started from. That's where homosexuality started from in the beginning with Ham, man. You know, so don't think them black people over there, they ain't into them nasty stuff.
Yep.
You know?
They were. The Egyptians were too. You want me to read it again? Verse 7?
2 Peter chapter 2, verse 7. And delivered just Lot, vexed with the filthy conversation of the wicked.
Uh-huh.
For that righteous man dwelling among them,
That Solomon spoke about in Wisdom of Solomon. He mentioned that righteous man. Go ahead.
in seeing and hearing,
He was what?
in seeing and hearing,
He was seeing it. Like I said before, the billboards, the media, television, he was seeing it. Go ahead.
in seeing and hearing,
And he was hearing it. Go ahead.
vexed his righteous soul from day to day with,
Every day. He had to deal with that every day. He lived there. Go ahead.
with their unlawful deeds.
With their wicked deeds among themselves, the filth that we got to see. But they're trying to force down our throats. Read on.
The Lord knoweth how to deliver the godly out of temptations, and to reserve the unjust unto the day of judgment to be punished.
Yes, he delivered Lot. Go ahead.
But chiefly them that walk after the flesh in the lust of uncleanness, and despise government. Presumptuous are they, self-willed. They are not afraid to speak evil of dignities.
Now we'll go back to that. I want Ecclesiasticus 16, verse 8. You might go back to that. Ecclesiasticus 16, verse 8.
The book of Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha, chapter 16 and verse
Matter of fact,
8.
go back to that verse again. Let me get some out of that. Go back to that verse again. Go back to that verse. Go back to verse 10 again.
2 Peter chapter 2, verse 10.
Yeah.
But chiefly them that walk after the flesh in the lust of uncleanness.
Homosexuality is a lust of uncleanness. It's a lust of the flesh. It's not something you're born doing. It's usually, most of the time, something that most of the time, and people argue that, it's something that happened to you in a traumatic experience when you were younger. Most of the time, it's molestation. Most of the time, it's either molestation or your atmosphere around, or your environment that's around you, or influence. That's where it comes from. There's nothing. No one's born that way. That's Edom's lie to justify wickedness. Every sin the Bible speaks of, Esau creates an excuse behind it. Whether it be a person that's an adulterer or he's a sex addict. Whether it be a person that likes to eat unclean food or is an aphrodisiac. Everything that's sinful and wicked, Edom finds a way to justify it or to make it righteous or give an excuse for it. An excuse is Esau is a natural born demonic enabler. That's what he is. He's an enabler. If you're a drug dealer or a drug addict, it's always some kind of excuse to create for sinful acts. Always.
Think about how many of y'all are about my age. Okay, when we were coming up like in the 70s, yeah, the brother's laughing. It's all right.
I'm trying not to laugh.
Yeah, it's all right. Go ahead and laugh. Get it out. During the 70s, right? You didn't really see this kind of business flowing rampantly out here in the street now, correct? Come on, bro. Where my 70s people at? Huh? Can I get a witness? All right. Whenever there was one, you know they had to get back in that closet, right? As they say. You weren't just walking around all proud with a dress on and all of that. You follow me? And even in those small pockets of where it was, they were trying to keep the fire burning. Hear that? Keep it burning among them. But that was not out here in the open society. The point that the deacon is making is that how rampant it is now, and it is because it's encouraged. Okay? Like you was bringing up about something happened to them in their childhood and all of that.
Yep, most of the
Esau would take that and say, but it's natural.
You're born that way.
And you say that you're born that way. Don't worry about it. It's not a problem. And then try to give you create a whole world around that to try to normalize that kind of thinking. Right. That's the reason why it's all over the place like weeds now. That's the reason why. We're not born that way. That's BS. They've encouraged it.
Right.
That's what happened. It wasn't encouraged in the 70s. That's the reason why I'm saying what I'm saying.
Right. As Deacon Eytan just said, a lot of the times it's things that brothers and sisters went through when they was young. Whether it's a family member mess with I met this Jamaican chick one time. You know, she was raped by her uncle. You know, so because of that, she never dealt. She ended up hating men after that. So she started dealing with women. She act like a straight tomboy. She talk like a boy. You know, but what happened to her is that experience that she experienced when she was young. You know, same thing with a lot of sisters, even a lot of sisters that's amongst us, a lot of you sisters that used to be lesbians. You know, you all repented, and if you look in the past, a lot of you all is something traumatic happened to you all in the past why you choose that lifestyle. Even brothers that's homosexuals, you know, is a reason why some brothers choose that lifestyle. You understand? But you was not born like that. It's something in you. It's some reason why. It's something in you. Sometimes, okay, we could say, okay, be like these spirits, they coming back, right? These same evil spirits we read about in Sodom and Gomorrah. You understand? But it's things that are going to trigger that lust in them, because the scripture says everybody was born with that wicked, with sin inside of them. Because the scripture says, is in sin did my mother conceive me. That's the code? Yeah, because each one of us got that sinful nature in us. But growing up as a child, each one of us, as kids, each one of us mold into our spirit, whatever sin we gonna follow. You know, so when you see these little kids and them playing sword fighting and stuff like that, what do you think gonna end up happening? You know?
Why do you think they pay so much money to get your black actors to put on a dress and fly all fruity? Oh yeah, you got that? To float all over the screen to try to make it seem like it's all right for you to do it. Once they create an atmosphere around wickedness, you feel inclined to do it.
Right. And a lot of times what Esau does is, Esau, you know, he knows that his word is law. He knows whatever he says, it goes. He can say the sky is orange, we'll believe it. He'll say, like their child, most kids have foolishness. The scripture say foolishness is bound in the heart of a child. A child will put on their mother's shoes. And the parents will go, get them shoes off. Esau will say, no, let him wear them. Let him find himself. No, die, go in slavery, take them shoes off. The hell out of here, I'm listening to you. Then his people will go around, blow up a place in Texas, be gay, shoot up schools, and be homosexual, and that's normal for them. Curse their parents out, set their mom across the face. They want our kids to be the same way. Our kids don't be doing that stuff. I'm an 80s baby. I come from a time when my mom said, come home for the lights come on. I was upstairs. There was no, nah, hell with my mom. I'm going to do what I want. She'll come downstairs and beat my friends up and let me stay outside. My mama's crazy, and we need crazy. Crazy works. Crazy is crazy is and me is necessary. It's a necessary evil. Right. My mom will slap my friend in the face. What you laughing at? Blah! Oh snap! I'm not joking. I'm dead serious. Tell your mama. She. I come from a ratchet household, man. A ratchet household. It's horrible. Anyway, the point is that the parents of yesterday are gone now. A lot of these young kids are getting pregnant. They're raising kids and letting TV raise their kids. Like when I was younger, they have it now. They had school and then they had after school programs, right? Now they have something called after school programs, where the kids are in school all day. After school.
I thought you made a mistake.
No, I'm not stuttering. After school. After school, and you have after school where they give them dinner. And the parents come in there in pajamas. All right, let's go. Now, mind you, that means the child is in school all day. So the parents are barely even dealing with them. So now the teachers become the parents. That's why a lot of teachers can't stand on working with the kids. They're like, listen, here's a worksheet, do that. And the kids in there doing worksheets, not learning nothing. Because they with your kids all day making the same pay. That's crafty counsel. That is. So eventually, peer pressure raises your kids. So anyone in the school that's doing that gay stuff, they're going to go along with it because they're around it all day long. They're around it all year long. And you're sitting in your house watching BET, whatever, while your child's in school following everybody else in the gay stuff. You got for example, you had the new peer pressure where they're wearing the skinny pants now. The skinny pants, the sagging of the pants, that too. But now it's sagging and skinny now. It went from baggy sagging, now it's skinny sagging now. They evolved. The weirdness doesn't evolve now. Then you have skinny and sagging now. No belts, just skinny and sagging. Barely even walk. Then the fashion is the pants themselves are made that way now. Now you used to have to buy them tight. Now they're made that way. You go look for a pair of pants, the top is real baggy and the bottom, the legs are real skinny. I didn't want this. Who made pants like this?
That's an example. Right. Hold it.
Hugging your balls all day, that's madness.
That's what
the immediate sperm count loss.
Exactly.
So would you put them on? Damn sterility pants.
Y'all didn't pick up on the fact because Jake will already be in a retarded mind state. You follow me? And Esau will make a world around him. Hence the genes that you were talking about. He's walking around with tiny, right, he enables it by creating a society. Don't worry. You can stay that way. We're going to give you some clothes to help bring that on.
Yep.
Right.
Let's make a man dress, for an example. BS.
Hey, the other day, I went to buy some jeans, man. You know, the jeans, the way they make it like, it's not baggy, it's from you know, where your legs meet, it's supposed to be, you're supposed to get room. No, it's real, you know.
Tight.
Right, yeah, so what I got to do now is like, if I'm buying jeans, if I wear 38, I got to buy 40, 42.
Yep.
You know, that's how I got to do it now.
Yep. You got to wear pants twice your size in order for them to be loose. Like I used to buy them like that to be baggy.
Right.
Now you got to wear them like that just to be loose, just to be just enough. Where you look half decent. You look less gay.
Hey, we know some of you brothers like the tight pants.
Some of you like that stuff.
You know what I mean?
Weird. Stop.
We like, bro, what's up with the tight pants, man?
That's the influence. That's what the say. That's the same. It's the influence. You see it all day long, all around you, all the time. It becomes the norm. That's what happens. It's the influence. Even if you don't see, in your mind, you're saying, "Ew, tight pants," but in your subconscious is like, "That's not so bad. Those look pretty decent." You start wearing them. That's what happens. Likewise in school, kids are doing gay stuff. Your kids seeing it all the time. Well, maybe it's all right to go ahead and get on my knees and in front of Barry. Maybe it's all right to have a woman, play around, fiddle around, and so forth. That's what happens. That's what happens in school because you got your kids in there 24/7. It's the environment.
Y'all looking surprised about what the deacon is saying, but just think about the atmosphere that your children are subjected to. They're subjected to if they ain't in the Bible, they're watching TV. What's on television? The same garbage. When they go on the street, what are they going to see? The same from garbage. The people living in the same neighborhood. They're all wearing and acting the same way. And when they go to the school, same thing. And
in school, they have it where you can't, they're trying to blur the line of gender. Now, gender is no longer sexist. Now, gender is an ideology now. So if your gender, you feel like a woman and you're a guy, they'll say you're a girl. No longer does gender matter mean sex anymore. They're changing it. Now they're saying gender is an ideology now. There's more than one. There's more than two genders. They're saying that there's more than two genders now.
Right.
It's no longer just male, female. Now it's more than one. I want to know which ones they are. Which ones? Man, woman, what else? Female. The hell is this?
Now we laughing at it.
But that's what Esau does. He creates things.
Give this nut some more time to rule. And you'll be running around talking about them. There's a third sex.
4th, 5th, and 6th. Get 2 Peter 2 and 10 again. 2 Peter 2 and 10 again.
The book of 2 Peter chapter 2 verse 10. But chiefly them that walk after the flesh in the lust of uncleanness and despise government.
Despise government means they despise order. They despise the laws of God, and they despise being told what to do according to the laws of God. They despise government or dominion. They don't want to be told to do. That's why Esau creates outlets and excuses for them to do what they want to do, because they spiritually despise order. They hate it. Believe it or not, a lot of homosexuals, they hate heterosexuals. They hate them. I'm going to tell you what I mean. I saw something on YouTube. I think Phineas posted it. Elder got on him, but he posted it. And I remember seeing it before. They had a pageant of the most mannish-looking woman. And they had women walk up there. They had straight beards. You would never know it was a woman. They looked the closest to men. They won the award. You had women on. I'm not going to put it on here. That's too much. That's too much for me to deal with. They had women up on stage that transformed themselves into straight dudes. Whoever looked the most mannish won. They were talking about Diesel, like looking like, sorry, Ezekiel, bit like him, with full beards, just full, look like they're lumberjack, like they cut trees down for a living. These are women, straight women. And they have vice versa. And some of you brothers have seen men look better than sisters. The way the surgery's made, I'm telling you, it's bad out here. You want to be a player all you want, go ahead. Yeah. You mess around with Tiffany, you mess around, bring home Bob, and
Hey, that's for the brothers that be out late in the night looking.
Yep.
You understand? Looking for
the
harlot.
A few drinks.
You know, because I know dudes got caught like that. They went out there late looking for the harlot, going back to the crib, trying to grab, like, what's that doing?
First rate check.
You all be careful, man.
Yeah. Some of y'all here like, oh, wow, I knew it. Some of y'all go along with it anyway.
It's late.
Oh, it's a bonus. Ooh, it's a bonus.
Talking about some it's late, too late now.
Yeah, too late now. I paid for it. Oh well. Read verse 10 the bottom.
2 Peter chapter 2, verse 10. Presumptuous are they, self-willed. They are not afraid to speak evil of
The
dignitaries.
thing is the Bible. They're not afraid to speak against the Bible. They'll go right against it. They don't care what the Bible. They don't care what the Bible says. They'll put man wrote that. Well, man gave you the right to marry too. Man gave you the right. Man passed laws to try to get married. Why come you in against that? You know, your Dark Knight Obama. I call him a Dark Knight. The Dark Knight Obama came to save a homosexuals' day. Meanwhile, Negroes in the bottom still killing each other in Chicago, where he's from. He bypassed them and gives homosexuals more rights than us. The Dark Knight of the freaking White House. Yeah, Josiah. Yeah.
I want to add to that point about the public school system. We got something. Every Friday we do a theme day,
Right.
like and we did have that sagging day, but I saw something new on the calendar: Gender Bender Day.
Gender bender up. That's it. That's it.
And they do have an LGBT. How many letters is it now?
I'm gonna get to that. There's many now.
They got a club. They got counselors. That's why I'm like, I gotta say prayers and just walk around like, don't say nothing, don't say, because the kids ask, oh, Mister this and that, that's my girlfriend. I'm like, oh man. So yeah, kids are in there till about 8, 9 o'clock, and that's what they do.
Yep, and they have a gay school, I believe. I forgot where it is. It's in Manhattan. It's a gay school.
Right.
Almost.
Exactly. Just for y'all to just note that if Esau is trying this hard to warp our children's minds, that means we have to fight that much harder to prevent it from happening.
Yep. What's it called?
Huh?
Sodom Academy? What's this called? Sodom Academy? GOMORRAH Grad School?
You might be saying, is that a
I'm
real name?
I'm being sarcastic.
See that? I had to ask because
Sound good, though.
because
Sound
it's
good,
right.
though.
Because it sounds like you go out, boom, and there it is. You know, it'll literally be that. But like I said, let the deacon get back into keep the lesson going. You know, all of these things that comes out in these classes, we don't just teach them just to be teaching them. It's for you to understand where you are and what's happening. Mm-hmm. You understand? Realize the reality that's going down. And we have children. We have to watch out for these children. You know, because they will mess your children up.
Mm-hmm. Sirach 16, verse 8.
The book of Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha, chapter 16 and verse 8. Neither spared he the place where Lot sojourned, but abhorred them for their pride.
For their what?
For their pride.
What do they have today? A parade is called. What do they call it again? Gay Pride Parade. Gay Pride. And the pride was shown when they got blinded and still tried to rape them anyway. That was the pride that they were showing. Yeah, I'm blind. I'm still gonna rape you. That's that violence. No matter how abnormal it is, they know it's abnormal. Let me give you an example of what I mean by they know it's abnormal. You'll have sisters. Well, of all nations, they call them. Well, I'm not sure if the term is dyke, but they dress with the tank top and the boots and the do rags and so forth, right? Or a tomboy, right? Dyke is a butch. There you go, bulldagger, whatever. They dress like that. Do all men dress like that? No. So what's the purpose behind dressing like that in particular? Because they know they're not men. They have to think. The demon says, think of the most niggerish, dumbest nigga you could think of, gangster, and dress like that. Not regular. Like, look at Ellen. She's masculine, but she don't do-rags. She don't dress like that. But Jake goes above and beyond. I'm gonna wear the do-rag. I'm gonna wear the Timbs, the tank top. I'm gonna put tape across my chest so my chest looks flat. I'm gonna wear a dildo every day. Strap on all day. Pretend it's mine. Have a bulge. They do that. That's disgusting. They do it.
That's an example of gender bending. What you're talking about? They try to what you're bringing out is an example. You go over the extreme trying to bend the fact that you're a woman.
Right. My man. You're a man, yeah. I ain't thought the woman part yet.
Huh? Oh, you.
What? I'm confusing myself.
You talking about the.
Yeah, I'm confusing my damn self. You interrupting me, man.
You talking about the woman tape her chest up?
Yeah. I'm sorry. I don't know.
She's trying to be a man.
Right, there you go.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm confusing myself.
Well, listen, hey, don't laugh at us because this topic is,
it's confusing.
It's confusing. So
confusing
y'all have
myself.
to ride with us. But the point is,
Yeah.
is that you go that far to try to convince the world that you are a man.
Right, right.
That's you trying to bend the natural
The
gender
reality.
that God made you.
Right,
And you're being overly excessive with it.
right.
That's the point.
When you flip it around, you have the men now. Jake men that talk with the S's. Women don't talk like that. Women do not speak like that. They walk harder. Some of them walk better than sisters do. They got a dude that train them and walk down the runway. What's her name? Miss G, what's her name? That thing's name? Forgot that guy's name, man. American Top Model. They had a dude teach women how to walk the runway. Miss J, there you go. Mr. J. It's not a woman. You said Miss J. Someone said Miss J. It's Mr. J. That's a man. Anyway, you would have them walk the runway, but you had the men, they would act, they go above and beyond. They know that they know in the back of their mind that they're not women. So they go extra. Now here's the twist now about the hatred I mentioned. I didn't forget the point. They dress like that deceptively. Because if they dress like us, they're trying to replace you. If they dress like women, they're trying to get us, and they're trying to get y'all. They're trying to replace both of us. That's why most of the time you'll have homosexuals hang around, well, gay men hang around women. What do women say? They're funny. That's not funny, man. They're trying to learn you to replace you. That's the purpose. Y'all don't see that. Some of them is like, nah. Some of them, most of them hang around you to replace you. That's the point. That's the objective, to get the sex change and to remove gender altogether. So they can take both.
Jerry Springer, I know, is that show still on?
No, I'm not sure anymore. I don't think so. We have
Is
other
it?
shows like it.
You see those kinds of things on there. The homo woman, the homo went and hanging around the wife so much, then the next thing you know, she learned he learned the feminine wild so much, moved the woman out the way, then they show up on the show, and the husband is dealing with the dude now. Stuff like that. That is some supreme sickness. That's why that bomb
Was made.
is made.
Read verse 9.
That's the reason.
Sirach chapter 16, verse 9. He pitied not the people of perdition who were taken away in their sins.
And they're evil. Right. Let's go to Wisdom of Solomon 10, verse 6. Wisdom of Solomon 10, verse 6.
The book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 10 and verse 6. When the ungodly perished, she delivered the righteous man.
That's Lot. Go ahead.
Who fled from the fire, which fell down upon 5 cities.
Remember Genesis 10, verse 19. It fell upon 5 cities. Sodom and Gomorrah were the 2 capitals. There are 5. Lasha, Zeboim, and some other one. That's Admah, I think. That's 5 cities. All right? Let's go to Genesis 10, verse 19. No, I read that already. Let's go to the YouTube video. It's called 7 Signs of an Empire in Decline. I want that video first. Now, Officer Gideon had mentioned to me a long time ago. Sometimes y'all tell me things and I listen. I just hold it until the right time. He mentioned a term of each empire is called the Age of Decadence. The Age of Decadence is a time in which an empire starts doing wild and stupid things and crazy, reckless things, like putting certain idiots in office. Why? They know they're gonna fall soon, so they do crazy things. So I'm gonna show y'all the clip here. And this happens among every major empire that's ruled. It happens, and it's happening in this one right now. Hit play. Turn it up.
Empires do not begin or end on a certain date, but they do end, and the West has not yet come to terms with its fading supremacy. At the end of every empire, under the guise of renewal, tribes, armies, and organizations appear and devour the heritage of the former superpower, often from within. In his essay, The Fate of Empires, the soldier, diplomat, and traveller Lieutenant General Sir John Glubb analysed the life cycle of empires. He found remarkable similarities between them all. An empire lasts about 250 years, or 10 generations, from the early pioneers to the final conspicuous consumers who become a burden on the state. 6 ages defined the lifespan of an empire. The age of pioneers, the age of conquests, the age of commerce, the age of affluence, the age of intellect, ending with bread and circuses in the age of decadence.
Now,
there are common features to every age of decadence. An undisciplined, overextended military, the conspicuous display of wealth, a massive disparity between rich and poor, a desire to live off a bloated state, and an obsession with sex. But perhaps the most notorious trait of all is the debasement of the currency. The United States and Great Britain both began on a gold or silver standard, long since abandoned. Rome was no different.
So it started on a principle that was very sound, and it was on a silver standard. But as it corrupted further and further and further, the Roman denarius got to the point where it was basically a copper coin, and they learned how to plate, and it was washed in silver, and in circulation the plating came off. And at the end, all the senators that really did at one time represent the people only were interested in representing how much wealth they could steal at the top.
Great empire wealth always dazzles, but beneath the surface the unbridled desire for money, power and material possessions means that duty and public service are replaced by leaders and citizens who scramble for the spoils.
Historically, all the signs of the demise of empire are beginning to develop. Some are more trenchant than others. This current financial and economic crisis, that sort of thing always accompanies the demise of empire.
The people of Rome were constantly being distracted by the gladiatorial events, and the politicians knew that they did this whenever there was unrest among the people.
They use sports as a distraction. Always sports, always some kind of music, always something to keep people distracted from what's going on, how the country's falling apart. And Rome did the same exact thing. When they were falling apart, they would use distractions, sports, Olympics, to get everybody's attention off of it. Go ahead, play it.
They had a huge event going on, and they created a new event with lots and lots of gladiators, and every day we're doing that. That is a common trait of declining empires. And so today in the United States, for example, you find a tremendous emphasis on all kinds of television programs that distract people from what's really going on. Sports is a big part of that, as it was in gladiator times. In essence, we've been lulled into a lethargy, and we've accepted it.
Just as our sports stars today earn vast sums, so did Roman charioteers. In the 2nd century, one by the name of Gaius Apuleius Diocles amassed a fortune of 35 million sesterces in prize money, equivalent to several billion dollars today. Strangely, perhaps, there's another profession that is disproportionately hallowed as an empire declines. The Romans, the Ottomans, and the Spanish all made celebrities of their chefs.
And this again is typifying the end of an empire, where things were so great, we have this last oomph of momentum that we used to be great, and we felt great, and we don't feel it anymore. So everyone is out searching for it. Well, maybe it's in the best food, or the best clothes, or the best music, or the best movies, or a reality TV show, or another magazine. But you can never get enough of what you don't need. What you need is a strong moral conviction that is pervasive throughout the society, and integrity reigns.
There's a vast apathy. There's a vast amoralism, even a political nature to it. That is to say, there are vast numbers of people who don't give a damn. And so there's this natural, I suppose, entropy. Any living organism, which an empire is, of course, over time dies. Question is, how does it die? Does it die in a violent cascade of events, or does it die over a long period of time?
Nukes.
The baby boomer generation were born into this age of decadence. Perhaps unwittingly, they've broken the unspoken intergenerational contract. Through unfettered consumerism, spiraling house prices, and a desire for eternal youth, the baby boomers have squandered future generations' inheritance.
My generation, the generation right after my generation, I think we forgot that little phrase in the preamble to our Constitution, which says, and our posterity. All of a sudden it became us, period.
The baby boom generation, which I'm a part of, has gone and done the biggest misallocation of capital in the history of mankind. We have had cheap oil, or cheap energy is a better way to phrase it. We've had an abundance of ideas, and we have chosen a system and perpetuated it that is probably one of the worst ways to use the blessings that were bestowed upon us. And we are going to pay a price for that.
Nukes. That's all I want.
Human beings.
Give me Transgender Mania by Camille Paglia. Go to 2 minutes and 50 seconds. We're going to watch to 6:22. It's called Transgender Mania by Camille Paglia. She's a writer, and she oftentimes does public speakings about certain events that revolve around homosexuality and transgenderism. I want to start at 2:50, and we're going to stop at 6:22. You should write that down. 2:50 to 6:22 is all I want, because she somewhat supports it. So I just want the part that she brings out regarding, which ties into the last video about age of decadence. 2:50, right there. Go ahead.
Which
2:45.
would be, it seems to be a minimum of age 18.
Right there, right there.
Such decisions about sex reassignment surgery must wait when one attains a majority, which would be, it seems to be a minimum of age 18. I'm very concerned with this.
She's going into how she feels, or she's explaining how sex changes are appropriate at what age when it should be changing, because children will be oftentimes are confused, and they'll go and get it done and then realize, I made a mistake in the end, now their lives are ruined. So she's explaining how she feels, which is wicked as hell regardless, when a person should be allowed to have their sex changed. It's operation.
So in other words, if they do it much younger, they say they may regret because they weren't old enough to make rational. Listen to the sickness. They weren't right. They're not old enough to make a rational decision on whether I should take my male body and put breast and a vagina on it.
Right. That's what she's saying.
That's
her logic, right? But go ahead.
Because I think that it's become a fashion, okay, that the transgender definition has become a kind of convenient label for young people who may simply feel alienated, okay, culturally for many other reasons, okay. So that in the 1950s they might have become a beatnik, in the 1960s they might have become a hippie and taken mind-expanding drugs, okay. And so today you're encouraged to think that it's an alienation is because you are not totally identifying with your particular inherited gender definition. So I'm very concerned about this. I think that a lot of it, I think that the collaboration of the bureaucratic machinery with it has to do with the assault on masculinity, okay? Okay, you see, gender doesn't really exist. It's not really polarity. I mean, everything's all about expanding women.
She said it's an attack on masculinity. They're trying to erase manhood off the earth and blur the lines between both. Go back a little bit. She talks kind of fast. Let's go back a little bit. Play it again.
Of the bureaucratic machinery with it.
Pause it for a second. When he said blur the lines between man and woman, that didn't really hit y'all hard. When they made what is called unisex bathrooms, that's the way how they blurred it. Because normally you go into a man's bathroom and you have a certain level of comfort that that's a man's bathroom, right? You don't feel that confident anymore going in these bathrooms, do you? They don't get what I'm saying.
They better.
Huh? You follow me? You don't know that if a woman might walk in the bathroom with you, right behind you. You don't even know. You follow me? And your masculinity is challenged if you can understand, get my drift. That don't mean nothing crazy, but I'm saying it's like a woman being in the bathroom. There's a certain comfort she has when she goes in there knowing that there ain't no men in there. Mm-hmm. Then all of a sudden a man come in there say, get off the toilet. I need to use it. I'm just dramatizing. I know it ain't that. Not yet anyway. I don't know what to think with this sick society. You understand? But y'all get my point, right? Yeah. Okay, go ahead, Deacon.
Do with the assault on masculinity, okay? Okay, you see, the gender doesn't really exist. It's not really polarity. I mean, everything's all about expanding women's rights, but also terminating men, okay? And defining men out of existence. Masculinity is by definition toxic, okay? Masculinity doesn't exist. This is the proof of it.
That's feminism. Feminism is a gateway to lesbianism. It's a gateway to lesbianism. That's what feminism is. Feminism is an illusion. It does not exist. It was a movement that was established by upper and middle class white women who had complaints against their upper middle class white men and used black women as numbers to motivate a rally against their men, in which they lost anyway, because men still run the planet, period. They gave women permission to have certain rights and whatever. So it's an illusion. But they used our sisters as numbers to catapult their cause, not ours. Because remember, sisters were still in slavery with it. We were still in slavery together. So we weren't oppressing them at all. We was oppressed together. You understand? That's what she's talking about. Feminism is referring to feminism. It's an attack on masculinity. That's what it's going into.
That's what the so-called gay agenda did as well with black people.
Right, and Black Lives Matter is the same thing.
The gay agenda said, oh, well, we're discriminated just like you're discriminated, blah, 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 to get you to get suckered into that thing. And the whole program is to push the so-called gay agenda. Right. Then they were, the hell with the niggas. We got it now.
We got the women now. We're good.
Right. And you all don't understand how deep it goes, man. How deep the rabbit hole goes, because even in the food that we eat, Esau is trying to effeminize you brothers. You know you got some brothers, they talk like this. Hey, they talk like a girl. You know, they got a high voice. The reason why, and you got some brothers got titties too. You know. I'd be like, bro, you got titties. What's up with that? Do some push-ups. But yo, hey, listen. The reason why brothers get like that is because of they put a high level of estrogen in the food. You know, estrogen is for women. It's for females. You know, that's a female hormone. But no, they put that in the food, and a lot of brothers, their voice get real thin. You know, and also in the medication they put it too. You know, I don't know. You all remember Barack, but you all remember his voice was real thin, right? A lot of the medication Esau was giving him had that estrogen inside it, and it was messing him up. You understand me? So Esau, the rabbit hole run real deep, man. You know, when you brothers see your voice start to get thin, especially your kids. Your kids, you know, usually when you reach a certain age, your voice start to break. I remember when my voice just broke. Yeah, I was like 14. And I was like, you know, my voice, first it goes real deep, like, yeah. You know, so when my voice broke like that, I used to be talking to my pops. I used to be like, yeah, so, you know. And then it get to the regular voice, your regular man voice. But when all of us here, when your voice just cracked, it was real deep. You understand? So, but what they doing now with the kids, they put all these high estrogen in the food. So now these young brothers, their voice ain't even breaking. It ain't even breaking because they got that high level of estrogen in their body. So these kids and them, they grow up. A lot of these young men and they
testosterone in women's food.
Yeah,
testosterone
right.
Food also.
Right, it goes both ways. The woman, I know you all see a couple sisters with beard below their chin. You know, you'd be like, "Oh, sister, you gotta." That's because of the testosterone. They switch it around, as Deacon Eytan say. So they really trying to effeminize and They're trying to masculinize the woman and effeminize the men.
Exactly.
So the rabbit hole go very deep, man.
I want to just real quick, to expound on the rabbit hole. Now, what the deacons were just bringing out is that's coming from a chemical standpoint, when they injecting and putting certain things inside the foods and different things like that. But even on a psychological level, they're doing the same thing. Yep. I'm gonna give you an example of what I'm talking about. Oftentimes, when we having class in here, and we would tell you men to speak, and you speak with a soft voice. That's why we get on you. Because the society is trying to feminize you to make you uncomfortable with speaking with bass. Y'all follow me? That's how when me and the bishop would talk, when we would talk about how it was in the old school, they'd curse you out. You get up there talking all week, they say, sit your weak ass down or go home and do some push-ups till you learn how to speak like a man. And they'll do that in front of everybody. You follow me? So I'm saying that because this psychologically, That's what, especially in the earlier classes. When I tell the men to speak, they got their voices all turned down. That's psychological. Speak like a man, because that's what God made you. Y'all understand that? All right.
Yeah. 22.
Now, I began all my studies, my book Sexual Personae began as a dissertation at Yale graduate school on androgyny. I've always been fascinated, attracted to the subject of androgyny, and that's what Sexual Personae is. I explored it in history. But the more I explored it, I realized that that historically the movement toward androgyny occurs in late phases of culture, okay, as a civilization is starting to unravel, okay, and that you can find it again and again and again through history in the
androgyny is men that act girly, like Prince. That's androgynous. When men behave more feminine and so forth. That's what she's going into. Gender bending. That's what she's going into as an empire begins to unravel or begins to decline. The age of decadence, where lines of gender become blurred. That's when the empire starts to come to an end. That's what she's saying. Okay?
In the Greek art, okay, you can see it happening. All of a sudden, okay, there's a kind of there's the sculptures of handsome nude young men athletes that used to be very robust, okay, in the archaic period suddenly began to seem like wet noodles, okay, toward the end, okay.
Now back then in the 90s, you had brothers. They would have like men like D'Angelo. They would be strong. Now you have the men. They're all skinny pants, real slim, and act real feminine. Their hair's dyed blonde on this side, it's black on this side, all gay looking. That's what's happening now. It's the same thing with the celebrities and all that. It's the same exact thing. You understand what I'm saying? But back then it was masculine. He was muscles and strong. Now it's all real thin, real skinny pants, real feminine, real girly acting. They're singing, or the men have real high-pitched voices now. Really, not I'm talking about Maxwell. I'm talking about like higher than him. It sound like straight girls now. Right. Just like, wow, what the hell is going on? Who's singing this? That's a woman singing? That's a man singing this song? The hell was happening? That's what she's going into, the age where androgyny, men are singing more girly, girls sound more manly. It's the same thing. Go ahead.
Deacon.
Yeah.
Deacon, also, very bright clothing.
Yeah, exactly. Very bright clothing, all that stuff. Bright hairstyles, all of that stuff. Go ahead. Right.
That the people who live in such periods, a late phase of culture, whether it's the Hellenistic era, whether it's the Roman Empire, whether it's the Mauve decade of Oscar Wilde in the 1890s, whether it's Weimar Germany, people who live in such times, okay, feel that they're very sophisticated, they're very cosmopolitan, okay, and homosexuality, heterosexuality, so what, anything goes, and so on, all right, but from the perspective of historical distance, okay, you can see that it's a culture that no longer believes in itself, okay, and then what you invariably get are people who are convinced of the power of heroic masculinity, okay, on the edges, whether they're the Vandals and the Huns, okay, or whether they're the barbarians of ISIS, okay, you see them, starting to mass on the outsides of the culture, and that's what we have right now. That there is a tremendous and rather terrifying disconnect between the infatuation with the transgender movement in our own culture and what's going on out there, okay, all right? And so I mean, that's why I'm concerned. I feel it's ominous, okay? I question.
Ominous means it's scary. What's happening right now is scary because it's coming to an end. That's what she's saying. She feels it's ominous.
I'm surprised the SPLC don't have her on their terror watch or something like that.
Yeah.
Whether the transgender choice is indeed genuine in every single case, but what concerns me is when well-meaning adults, believe that they're helping people by making it easier some permanent change in the body from which there is no going back.
That's all I want. Let's go to standardtimespress.org. Someone wrote this article. Now, some of it, once again, I'll make it clear, give you an early warning. A lot of it's conjecture, but he brings out some points that I want to use during the class. He made some good points. Some of it's conjecture or his own opinion he projects into it. Conjecture means you project your own opinions to be facts when it's not. That's all it basically means. That's what conjecture means. Like a really strong opinion. That's all it basically means.
Hey, Deacon Eytan, the time of decadence, what you talk?
Age of decadence.
Age of decadence. That's like the
age of decline. Things falling apart. Right. Empire's coming to an end.
Right. The age of decline.
Right.
All right. So what Deacon Eytan bringing out is right now is that this is the time we're in. We are in the end time, the time of decline, when you could look and you could see this kingdom coming to an end. And what it shows us is that you see it in the chef. You see all of a sudden, you see what that dude name is again, man. The dude always cooking up food, and the chef, all kind of super chef. You know, they exalt their chef, like, and everybody, it's like they want to get a last, enjoy it to the fullest. You understand? So everything going to another level. Homosexuality is going to another level. You know, and we could tell that this is the end of time. This is the time of decadence. All right? And what scripture show that is Obadiah. Go to Obadiah. Obadiah 1 and verse 4.
The book of Obadiah, verse 4. Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, as though thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord.
Read that again.
Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle.
So he says that Edom, the so-called white man, he exalts himself as the eagle. Okay, read on.
And though thou set thy nest among the stars.
And what does it mean by he set his nest above the stars, amongst the stars? Space travel. When did he set his nest amongst the stars? In 1969. All right, when Neil Armstrong landed on the moon, and he said that the eagle has landed. Okay, so from the time he did that, the white man ascended and set his nest on the moon and claimed the moon for himself. That's when he started declining. And that was in the 70s. I know in the 70s, what do you call it? The baby bloomers, they call them? That what they call them the baby bloomers. Yeah, that's what they call them. So ever since the 70s and backwards, you understand, till this day, this country start declining. You know, you had the wars that you had, what do you call that war that they were trying to force? No, Iraq, that wasn't, they lost. Vietnam, then they lost that war. Any war before 1979, America was winning. 1969, any war before 1969, America was winning. After 1969, America been on the downfall. You understand? Everything been on the downfall. Don't get me wrong, their military is still powerful. Nobody could mess with them. You understand? But they on the downfall. They are exactly.
Like the scripture say in Isaiah 14, he says, the worm is spread under thee. That's what it's talking about. And the worms cover thee. The decadence is going to destroy the system.
Right, so read that one more time.
The book of Obadiah, verse 4. Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord.
He said, thence will I bring thee down. When? When Edom set their nest above the stars. All right? All right.
Space stations and all that stuff, that's that right there declared their decadence. Told themselves as the eagle, they got that established. They flew in the sky, they're right brothers. They went into space and all that, started establishing space stations and all that stuff. The Moses said, oh, now it's time to start bringing y'all down. And that's what's happening now. We're in that age where they're coming down, they're declining.
Y'all realize what happened at the same time while he was bringing them down? What else is going on? Israel is waking up.
Rising up. We're on the same
Israel's
time.
waking up. That's the dry bones again.
Yep. The same exact time. Got it? Read that. That's all I want. Yep. I follow it. Right there. Start from the top. The phenomenon.
The Phenomenon of Homosexuality in Today's Society by Paul Kabowski. One would like to commend Nigeria's House of Representatives for voting to ban gay marriage and outlaw any groups actively supporting gay rights.
Jake over there don't play that, man. Nigeria, we don't play that. No. We don't want that over here because America's trying to force them to accept it over there. And they're still trying. Go ahead.
Homosexuality is a troubling moral and social phenomenon due to benign interpretations of the homosexual condition itself. It is increasingly being viewed as something neutral or even good. In the words of Cardinal George of Chicago, the gay liberation movement has begun to morph into something like the Ku Klux Klan. They have thus far succeeded in inverting the West's rule of law into the law of the jungle.
Yeah, Dark Knight did that. Yeah.
Men and women with homosexual tendencies must be accepted with respect, compassion, and sensitivity. Nonetheless, homosexual acts must be considered wrong and intrinsically disordered. They are contrary to the natural law. They close the sexual act to the gift of life. They do not proceed from a genuine, effective, and sexual complementary. Under no circumstances should they be approved.
They are contrary to the natural law. What's that talking about? Think about natural law. Your nature. That's the word that I'm looking for, nature. You don't have to write that down. You can look at your own body and look at your woman's body and see that one part goes with the other part.
Right.
There's nothing. I don't need a law to tell me how to use that.
Right. The natural law is a woman's vagina was made for a penis. That's a natural law. The natural law is a dude anus was made for doodling. You understand? So anyway, let me leave it.
Continue. In the West?
In the West, the legalization of homosexuality has already led to the destruction of the family unit.
Read again?
In the West,
That's here. Go ahead.
the legalization of homosexuality has already led to the destruction of the family unit.
Yep. So now you have 2 dads, 2 moms. Confusion. Go ahead.
Children who have no knowledge of sex are being brainwashed in schools to accept the perversion of homosexual acts as being normal and praised.
Go ahead.
At special risk now is religious freedom.
Right. Those who are against it, according to the Bible, are being attacked as well. Go ahead.
In Canada, Christians are being harassed, threatened, and hauled into court for their biblical and scientifically supported conviction that homosexuality is not normal and that marriage is between one man and one woman.
We were out there. They have very strict laws about how you speak out there, especially against that. Hold that. Get the video I want. I think it's the let me see how I want. I want the next one. The LGBTTIQQA. Get that one. Yeah, right there you go. This press play. We're gonna watch that.
I guess by the time
8 minutes. We'll stop at 8 minutes.
I guess by the time you learn how to say all of those letters from your mind, you fully converted.
Yeah, you finished. Like another language. Okay, we're gonna watch 8 minutes.
Well, the tolerance police have a lot of power here in America.
Keep in mind, he mentioned the article about them being harassed and attacked in Canada, being against homosexuality, based upon their religious freedoms. Go ahead.
Well, the tolerance police have a lot of power here in America, in case you haven't noticed, but they're even stronger in Canada. Just yesterday, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau
inclusiveness training. Gone wild. Inclusiveness training. Now, he doesn't agree with this, but he's trying to be politically correct about it. But this is called inclusiveness training. I mean, you have to be trained to accept this madness they have now. Go ahead, watch.
an official apology to gay and transgender Canadians for past state discrimination against them. But now teachers in Durham, Ontario had to attend an inclusiveness training course for the deep breath here, LGGBDTTTIQQAAPP community, which is apparently a community, that 15-letter acronym intended to encompass all sexual minorities. It may soon be required at schools. Stephen LeDrew is a former president of Canada's Liberal Party, and he joins us tonight. Stephen, thanks for coming on.
Hi, Tucker.
So what does this acronym mean specifically? What are the categories?
Well, I mean, it's generally shortened to LGBTQ, which is the communities, and there's a few extra ones they've added in there. But no one goes by that. Maybe that's to teach kids.
Pause it. Now, this guy's name is Stephen LeDrew. He's a Liberal Party of Canada. Liberal. This guy's a liberal. Keep that in mind. He's a supporter of this nonsense. You know, he's going to ask him, what does this mean? This guy's name, Carson, this guy's name here? The guy's name. Yeah, Tucker. He's going to ask, what is the acronym? What does this mean? Look at his face. He's confused as I am.
Yeah, that's one of the, right. That's so you can understand this whole branch is the Trump hardliners, patriots. That's that mentality.
Yep.
Trying to,
Trump
quote unquote, save this country.
Right.
From its decadence.
Yep. That's what they're trying to do. Go ahead.
The alphabet or not, but generally it's referred to, and the Prime Minister referred to it yesterday in the House of Commons during his apology, as LGBTQ. And some people don't even know what it means, but they just know that means inclusiveness. It's a good thing. It's a question of tolerance.
Right, of course, but I guess what piqued my interest was the addition of new letters, each representing a new category. And I'm not against it, kind of confused by it, and I just want to know what it means. Do you know what the acronym stands for? Do you know what those 15 groups are?
What's the problem with it? You know,
I'm not saying, but hold on, slow down. I'm not saying there is a problem with it. I'm just asking what it is, because defining the terms is the first step to understanding them.
Pause it.
And then accepting them.
These heathens don't want you to understand that. Just accept it. It can mean kill your children tomorrow. They'll go, just accept it. Love is love. That's Christianity. I'm telling you. You don't understand it. Just accept it. That's their whole thing. That's why it's evil and wicked as hell. Edomites asked another Edomite, what does this mean? They added a whole damn essay to LGBTQ with the DDTTB, QQS. It's madness. He's saying, I want to know what it means. Watch. Go ahead. Keep going.
So what is it?
Well, I mean, you've got in front of you. You have me at a disadvantage on that one because, to be very candid with you, as I said, everybody in Canada knows what LGBTQ, sometimes a 2 in the end, means. But that long one, quite frankly, until your producers showed it to me, I hadn't seen it. But then I looked at it, and you have all the definitions through there.
Okay, that's fine. But then why do you think it's a good thing if you don't know what it is?
But what's the matter with it?
Well, I don't know. I mean, look, I don't know. I mean, you could hand me a box and say there's something great inside, and my answer would be, okay, what is it? I mean, I don't pronounce things great until I know what they are, but you don't have that problem. So, okay, I'll get specific with you. And this is meaningful because teachers are being taught this, kids will be taught it, and I think I have a right to non-judgmentally ask what they're talking about. So, for example, what's two-spirit?
Well, two-spirit sounds like there's someone they don't know whether they're, fish or fowl. They don't know whether they're frick or frack. So they're clearly confused. And, again, if you're confused, what better place to go?
Pause it. Hey,
sexual.
He's still and explain what two-spirit is. When you look up two-spirit, two-spirit is homosexuality same way, but that's North American Indian. You understand? Let's look it up. Look up two-spirit. That's when North American Indian, they say they got two-spirit. Let's look it up. Look it up. Type it in.
Northern Kingdom. Something wrong with y'all, man.
That's the tribe of Gad. You understand? Gad.
Y'all come here with red glasses on.
Right. Gad homosexuality. When the tribe of Gad, when they homosexuals, they don't say I'm homosexual. They say I'm two-spirit. But the dude didn't even know it. Okay.
First Nations are the ones to be civilized by white folks. That's what I call the First Nations. Two-spirit refers to a person who has both masculine and feminine spirit. That means homosexual. And is used by some First Nations people, meaning the first civilized nations, the 5 civilized nations who got enslaved by white folks spiritually and mentally and educationally, to describe their sexual, gender, and/or spiritual identity. So that's Gad's way of saying I'm gay, but I don't want to say gay or homo. I'll just say I'm two-spirited instead. Another excuse. Go back. Confusion. Go a little back, a little bit back, a little further back. Don't lose a thought. Right there's good. Right there.
Well, two-spirit sounds like there's someone they don't know whether they're, fish or fowl. They don't know whether they're frick or frack. So they're clearly confused. And, again, if you're confused, what better place to go than to be at school? So, I mean, all those categories, I'll bet you, Tucker, all those categories that are in that long...
He said you're confused. What better place to go than in school? I said that earlier. Yeah. You're confused, go to school. All the other kids are confused and feel welcomed. I'm telling you. Go ahead.
Litany that you laid out there, I'll bet you that no one, well, maybe 5 people in all of Canada, could lay out what exactly those are. But if someone feels that they are a better person, that they are more included in society, that there's someone else in society, some teachers, who understand them or who want to understand them. You know, that's what Canada's about.
No, but hold on, wait, no, I'm sorry. Okay, look, I'm for people feeling included. I'm against meanness. I'm for politeness. But I also believe in the right to ask simple questions and get direct answers. So if you're teaching kids about a group, I think it's fair to define what it is. I mean, you don't know, but you're willing to say, well, it's great, and I'm baffled by that because maybe it's not great. Maybe we should find out what it is before we say that, no? Or is everything the teachers group think up good by definition?
I think you're absolutely right. Well, no, I'm not saying that everything the teachers group thinks up is good. I mean, they've had some very different things before. They had a measure last summer, and if they were in the States, they would have said, no school could be called the George Washington School. They said, get rid of that first Prime Minister of Canada. So they aren't always on par. But on this one, and to be very candid, as I said at the outset, I don't know what all those mean.
But that's the point. We all mindlessly go along. But the point is we're all bullied. We're all afraid to ask honest questions like, what is this? And what bothers me is we don't know who makes up these categories. So there are 15 different groups in this acronym. Did anyone poll them and ask, do you want to be included? Do the asexuals want to be with the allies and the pansexuals and the polyamorous? I mean, this is all made up. Nobody asked anybody, and now it's imposed on the rest of us.
Everybody wants to be included. That's what this whole thing is about. It's society, you want to be included. That's a social contract. So, you know, no one, I'm sure, went out and polled people, and they said out of the 1,000 people, if you are that fifth category in that long line of that long litany of names that you have, right, no one's going to be polled on this thing. But it sounds to me that you're taking an issue with some teachers saying, let's try to bring it together. You already said
you're totally missing it. I'm for bringing people together. I think there's something inherently divisive about making up a, quote, community without asking anybody in the community if they constitute a community. And by the way, why would question, I mean, did anyone even ask? Like, who made this up? Who's making these rules? We have to abide by them, so it seems fair to ask. Like, where did this come from?
Well, it's not a rule, Tucker. That was what you're reading is something that was created by teachers. They said, let's bring all the groups in. We have these names. I'm sure there was no poll on it. I know in the States everything is run by polls. We don't do that in Canada. They said, let's just get every group, every name. Because you don't care what the people think in
Canada.
What do you mean?
What were you saying? You don't do polls in Canada because you don't care what your population thinks? That's not meaningful to you?
No, we do polls, but we don't run everything by polls. What I understand
you just impose it by fiat on a passive population? Is that what you're like? What point are you making?
Are you picking on our Prime Minister?
I'm not picking on. I'm pro-Canada. I just came to ask simple questions, as we do in this country, hoping I would get a straightforward answer, not finding one, pressing forward a little more, gently, politely, respectfully, and getting nothing.
Well, I'm sorry that you feel I'm giving you nothing because I'm giving you the honest truth. The honest truth is that most people in Canada would not know all those categories, but they would say, you know what? Even if there's 10 people out there in Durham County where this group was meeting, then that's a good thing. Bring them in. And if they're saying that they have some sexual change or some sexual option that I don't know about, well, let's all talk about it. And that's what that thing was for the meeting. It's for an invitation for everybody. Come in.
So what if somebody said,
okay,
I guess what bothers me, I mean, look, this is taking place in Canada, so it doesn't affect me or most of our viewers directly, but I just sort of wonder, because free speech is not guaranteed, as you know, in your country, and people are in prison for saying unpopular things there. I wonder what would happen to someone.
So.
Well, you're wrong. They are. But I wonder what would happen. What would happen to somebody who said, you know, I'm not interested in playing along with this. I don't know what it is. You don't know what it is. Leave me alone. Teach my kids to read and do math. That person would be dismissed as insensitive or bigoted or worse, wouldn't he?
No, they wouldn't. I mean, because we're not judgmental like that. So you're saying, from an American point of view, that person would be dismissed as bigoted. But in Canada, they wouldn't be. They say, okay, fine. That's your opinion. Others have a different opinion.
Oh, if only that were true.
And you know what?
I wish that were true. I mean, that's the country I want to live in. I want to live in a country where we can disagree. We don't call each other names. And we just sort of agree to disagree. But that's not the country you live in, and increasingly that's not the country I live in.
Oh, it is. It is the country that we live in, Canada. There's a big difference between the United States and Canada, and that's one of the differences. And I asked you, Tucker, to tell me who's in prison in Canada for saying something wrong. We have a great free speech.
People are prosecuted for hate crimes in Canada for expressing things that are unpopular. And that's Canadian law. Mark Stein got sued over this. Yeah, okay.
No,
all right,
you know what?
Stephen, we're in a factual dispute in which you were in the wrong, but that's a...
He's cutting them up with that one. Those guys there, 5 and 20. Doesn't understand it, but it's good. Doesn't understand the acronym, but it's good. What's wrong with it?
You know,
Well, what is it? Well, what's wrong with it? Never answer the question.
Esau is the devil.
Hey,
Now, wait a minute. Wait, I just want to say this real quick. This man over here with the red glasses on, he just sat there and intellectualized nothing. He went through a whole, he did all this sitting up there looking astute with his bow tie on and trying to look intelligent, but he did not really say anything, really. I mean, all of that gibberish. There was nothing that you could understand out of that. And it's meant to confuse you. Go ahead, Deacon.
Right. When you look up the LGBTQ, when you look up all the synonyms, right? I literally went and looked up the meaning of each synonym one time. The pansexual, that's just going into you said, you know what, I'm not gonna deal with one person. I'm gonna just have sex with whoever. You know, that's what it is. You know, the demisexual, the asexual is somebody that just don't have the need to have sex. They don't really want to have sex. You know, then you got another terminology they got there is somebody that born with a penis and a vagina.
Hermaphrodite.
Yeah. You know.
But the organ is one.
Yeah,
They don't have two sets of organs.
They got two
one
organs.
the other. No, they don't have two sets of organs. If they're born with both of those extremities, they can determine what the child is based upon the organs. So if the child has ovaries, take the penis off, that's a girl.
Right.
So they don't born both sets of reproductive organs.
Right. Well,
only one. It's like
that's what they put them under that category also. You know what I mean? But all it is really about is lust, committing your lust that you want to commit. Right. Whatever your lust is, the LGBTQ community, all right, their objective is that you could be evil as hell. It doesn't matter. You want to have sex with, if you want to be a lesbian, you could be a lesbian. If you want to be a homosexual, you could be a homosexual. You want to be a harlot, you could be a harlot. You could be a hoe. You understand? LGBTQ queer. What the queer is for?
I'm gonna get that. It means queer. Q means queer.
So what about the people that want to marry their dogs? Are they included in that?
Oh, they gonna
not
be
yet.
Are they going to discriminate against them?
Give it time. No, not yet. Pedophiles in there too. That's in time. Get
Isaiah 5 and 20.
Yes, Isaiah 5 and 20.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 5 and verse 20. Woe unto them that call evil good and good evil.
You just watched that on video for 8 minutes. Him calling evil good and good evil. Go ahead.
That put darkness for light and light for darkness. That put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter.
Go ahead.
Woe unto them that are wise in their own eyes.
Those that make these acronyms up are wise in their own eyes. Go ahead.
And prudent in their own sight.
Right. Now let's go to Isaiah 32 verse 5. That guy's a liberal. He said, what's wrong with it? Isaiah 32 verse 5.
The book of Isaiah chapter 32 and verse 5. The vile person shall be no more called liberal.
So the Bible says a vile person shall no more be called liberal. Liberals are vile people. Vile. That God cannot answer the question. He refused to answer the question. He didn't know what it meant, but had an idea what it meant and said it was good without even knowing what it meant. Wicked as hell. Go ahead.
Nor the churl said to be bountiful.
Being blessed. Go ahead.
For the vile person will speak villainy.
The liberal will speak villainy. Go ahead.
And his heart will work iniquity. To practice hypocrisy.
Because he's justifying it without understanding what it means. Go ahead.
And to utter error against the Lord. To make empty the soul of the hungry.
Right, to justify those who are wicked as hell, to give them justification while they're wicked as hell. Go ahead.
And he will cause the drink of the thirsty to fail.
Go ahead.
The instruments also of the churl are evil. He deviseth wicked devices to destroy the poor with lying words.
Right, people are poor spiritually with lying words, like being gay is all right and they have rights and all that gay gene. There's lying words. Go ahead.
Even when the needy speaketh right.
Go ahead.
But the liberal deviseth liberal things.
Which is wicked things. Go ahead.
And by liberal things shall he stand.
The wicked things he's going to stand on. Let's get, let's go back to, go to the next video. Next video I have. Now look up queer real fast about calling good evil and evil good. Definition of queer. Watch this. LGBTQ. They occasionally leave the Q off for a reason. If you don't read, you won't catch on. It says queer means strange or odd. Odd, strange, unusual, funny, peculiar, curious, bizarre, weird, uncanny, freakish, eerie, unnatural, unconventional, unorthodox, unexpected, unfamiliar, abnormal, anomalous, atypical, untypical, out of the ordinary, incongruous, irregular, puzzling, perplexing, baffling, unaccountable, fishy, spooky, bizarro, freaky. Number 2, a person homosexual. See that? Go down to that etymology, please. A homosexual man. Spoil or ruin. Go down to origin. It means oblique or perverse. That's what queer means. Oblique or perverse. That's why queer is usually removed from that acronym. Because it's not a good, there's a negative connotation behind it.
Right. It's temporarily removed until they change the definition. Like
right.
They change wool.
Right, it changed woolly to an abnormality found in Caucasian hair.
Did y'all hear that?
I guess after that video, Esau got mad. Change everything. Wool now is an abnormality. Woolly hair is not an abnormality found in Caucasians, according to definitions now. Y'all laughing, I'm dead serious. They put up a definition now where woolly hair is an abnormality found in Caucasians.
Did y'all hear that? So they're going to take the Q off until they brainwash people
Fix
to think that Q, that queer, don't mean these negative connotations.
Right.
Once they make it as something favorable, then they'll put it back on there.
Right. Go this right here. What is LGBT blah 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 blah? QIAAAP.
Not everyone fits in neatly to man, woman, marriage, kid.
Pause it. No, I ain't talking about the signs. You notice that they put the beat behind it. That's witchcraft. To make you dance to it. You be like, ding, 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 ding. You missed it.
Hey, it's cool.
Deacons, even the music they're playing is Missy Elliott, who's LGBT.
Yeah.
They missed that. They already danced.
And the music is called Get Your Freak On.
Get Your Freak On, yeah. That's the name of the beat. Get Your Freak On. Go back.
The term LGBT has been around since the late 1980s, but in recent years there's been some additions. The first Q is for queer. Queer's an umbrella term. You might identify with being lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, or any number of them. For years it was used to insult the LGBT community, and some still find it offensive. But others have reclaimed it, identify as it, and wear it as a badge of honour. The second Q is for questioning. It's for people who are in the process of exploring their identity. They might be figuring out their sexuality or gender. Intersex is next. That's for people whose bodies or chromosomes are neither wholly male nor wholly female. They might even have a penis and a vagina. A stands for allies, those who support the LGBT.
But they have one set of organs. You cannot have two sets of organs. If you're born like that, it's an abnormality that can be fixed by removing the proper organ depending on the child's reproductive system. If the child has balls, if it has testes, and it has sperm in it, or whatever, it means it's a male child with a vagina. Get the vagina off.
Y'all get that? But Satan, the devil, will tell you that there's both organs inside of a person.
Don't have both.
And they don't have both. You see that? But they won't quote unquote educate you on that, but try to push this freaky stuff on you.
That's that scientific witchcraft. That's scientific opposition of science, falsely so-called, like Paul warned us about. Go ahead.
Community. Generally they're straight, but not exclusively. The second A is for asexual, a term you can adopt if you aren't sexually attracted to anyone, not to be confused with celibacy. And finally, P is for pansexual, where a person is attracted to a partner because of their personality and don't pay much attention to their gender. But this is by no means an exhaustive list. There are other words which people identify with, and some don't feel the need to identify with anything in particular.
The confusion never stops. Well, Standard Times, go back to the article again, Standard Times article that I had before. To choose someone, we'll start from there. We're going to end at...
Y'all still remember the beat even though the music and the video is over. I know that the beat is still playing in your mind, ain't it? I pick up the spirit. The beat and the music is still playing in some of y'all minds. Huh? That's that witchcraft, brothers. Now every time you hear that beat, you're going to think about that filth that you just saw on the screen.
Go to choose, make it bigger, make it bigger. Go down, to say to choose. Right there, to choose someone. Typo, to choose someone. Go ahead.
To choose someone of the same sex for one's sexual activity is to annul the rich symbolism and meaning, not to mention the goals of the Creator's sexual design.
Whoever wrote this is obviously Christian. That's why I said it is Creator's sexual design. You have Edomites who stand by that stuff is gay stuff. They don't stand by it at all. They're like, listen, it's wrong. That's some right, exactly.
That's Trump supporters. That's Tucker Carlson. That's all those people with the tiki torches. All that group. Conservative. What they call
conservatives.
Conservatives.
Right.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Homosexual activity is not a complementary union, able to transmit life, and so it thwarts the call to a life of that form of self-giving, which the gospel says is the essence of Christian living. This does not mean that homosexual persons are not often generous and giving of themselves, but when they engage in homosexual activity, they confirm within themselves a disordered sexual inclination, which is essentially self-indulgence.
It's lust. Right?
There is a lot of misinformation and distortion of facts disseminated by the press today about homosexuality. The Western media often portrays the homosexual lifestyle and relationships as happy, healthy, and stable. On the contrary, there are very high rates of sexual promiscuity.
Stop. That's true. That's very true. High sexual promiscuity among them.
Could you imagine being in a court and you're presiding over a divorce of a couple like this here? Just think about how sick that is. You know how they have the divorce courts and all that? Could you imagine two of these people talking about, I want to divorce you because you cheated on me or something? You're sitting there as a judge with a Bible.
That lifestyle is very, very, very incontinent. It's a very insatiable lifestyle. They sleeping around all the time. They'll be lesbians. They'll be old as hell. Still have girlfriends. Be like 50, 60 years old.
So they're not happy.
Not happy at all. It's no happiness behind it. It's constant promiscuity among them. The nightclubs, the gay clubs, the liquor, the drugs, all that goes on among them.
So they're trying to make it seem like
it's happy and
to attract you.
Right.
That's the point.
Going again, on the contrary, what?
On the contrary, there are very high rates of sexual promiscuity.
That's not conjecture, that's a fact. Go ahead.
Among the homosexual population, with short duration of even, quote, committed relationships.
That's very true. Go ahead.
Homosexuals also have very high rates of sexually transmitted infections, such as HIV.
That's what it said. Now, whether that's true or not, I'm not sure. But that's what they say.
Hey, one we call a very high rate of sexually transmitted infection. All right? There's something called SHIT shank. All right? Homosexual men, they get this a lot. You understand me? That's when homosexuals, the urinary tract get clogged up with doo-doo. And they get an infection. It's called SHIT shank. You understand?
That's a jail term?
It's called SHIT shank.
Now,
that's what I know it's called.
Type in grid on Wikipedia. Grid.
So that's another infection that they also have. Yeah. Right.
It's an acronym. Go to Wikipedia real fast. Go to grid. Watch this. It said that among them was found AIDS, such as HIV. There we go. Grid. Was the original? Read that. Watch this.
Gay-related immune deficiency, GRID, was the original name for a disease currently known as AIDS.
AIDS is originally a gay-related immune deficiency disease. Go ahead.
GRID was first mentioned in a May 11, 1982 article in the New York Times. In this article, the term, quote, AID, acquired immunodeficiency disease, is also mentioned. In the early days of AIDS, 1982 to 1985, the terms, quote, gay cancer and gay plague were also used.
Damn. Go ahead.
The term GRID was never used in the specific biomedical literature. In the popular press, it was only used for a very short period of time. On August 8, 1982, the term AIDS for acquired immune deficiency syndrome first appeared in the New York Times. It was initially spelled AIDS. The reason for the GRID to AIDS change was a nomenclature was the realization that the gay attribution did not fully encompass the demographics of the disease. The use of GRID and gay-related immune deficiency in the popular literature reached a peak in 1995. The terms have rapidly sunk into obsolescence subsequently.
So they were saying basically that not everyone that's gay had AIDS, so they changed it around. But originally it meant GRID. AIDS was called GRID because it was a disease that was found prominently among homosexuals during this time, the 80s.
There's another reason why they would seek to change that because of the absolute negative connotation
behind it
that goes with it. If you hear that there's a disease that's related to being gay, what would that do for you? You say, the hell with that. I'm not dealing with that thing.
You supposed to change that around, change that. Let's give them the lie about the demographics. Right. Damage control. That's all I want. Go back. Where was that before? The other article. We were at further.
Further, many studies show much higher rates of psychiatric illness, such as depression, suicide attempts, and drug abuse among homosexuals that among the general population.
A lot of them indulging in a lot of drug abuse. A lot of them are spiritually psychologically confused, and so they do drugs to alleviate that pressure in their mind, but also to engage in acts of certain activities they're going to deal with while they're high. They do that as well. That's why it's high drug abuse among them. The high major Molly popping pills, that's them doing that stuff. Then Simple Jake follow suit behind it. You understand? Well, go ahead. And that was going for years. That's why you mentioned earlier about the psychedelics, drugs in that video she mentioned there earlier about they be hippies, hipsters, and they popping psychedelics, opiates and stuff. They were doing that stuff. And they do it now. Go ahead.
And statistics, which compare homosexuals with ethnic minorities exposed to racism.
That's another lie. Read the part again. And statistics are what?
Which compare homosexuals with ethnic minorities exposed to racism.
That's a lie. They try to compare homosexuality to ethnic minorities exposed to racism. That's not the same thing. Go ahead.
Indicate this is not due to homophobia. The homosexual lifestyle is also associated with a shortened life expectancy of up to 20 years.
That's a conjecture. Go ahead.
Homosexual behavior is abnormal.
That's true. Go ahead.
Immoral and anti-life.
That's definitely true. Anti-life. Go ahead.
It closes the act of sex to gift to life and is not innate as some believe.
It's not in the back of your mind. It's not there. Go ahead. It's not something that's always been there. Go ahead.
The so-called gay gene has never been found.
Nope.
The Bible clearly and unequivocally also condemns homosexual acts.
That's all I want. Skip down to God created man, no female.
God created man, male, and female. Although the terms gay and lesbian are currently used by some people to justify homosexual acts and behaviors as morally good. They are unfounded and unwarranted reductionist terms and do not in fact describe the fullness and richness that is in every man and woman.
To bring forth life. Go ahead.
Dr. Francis Collins, who received the Presidential Medal of Freedom for his work in sequencing the human genetic code, has in fact proven that homosexuality is not genetically hardwired.
Watch this.
If genetics were determinative, he said, and then identical twins should virtually always show the same pattern of sex attraction.
So if one twin is gay, then by genetics, both twins should be gay by genetics. Go ahead.
However, a study of the Australian Twin Registry showed that only 11% of identical twins with same-sex attraction had a twin brother who also experienced it.
So that's false. So there's no genetic tie into being homosexual. That's what he's saying. Go ahead.
In 1973, homosexual activists succeeded in pressuring the American Psychiatric Association.
Here we go. APA, go ahead.
APA to remove homosexuality from their official list of mental disorders.
Correct. There you go right there. They removed homosexuality from being a mental disorder.
Change the imagery. That's what they're doing, changing the way
They
you
were
view
grid.
it.
They did with the grid. Same
They
thing.
were grid. That's what they're doing, making it fashionable.
Yep. Go ahead.
This about face, according to a 2005 scientific study by Dr. Jeffrey B. Satin, director of the Derchenheim Gladstone International Center for Quantitative Analysis in Washington, was due to certain bias, false claims, lack of scientific expertise, lack of clinical experience, and fabrication of evidence.
To have it removed. They lied to have it removed. Go ahead.
Essentially, the APA's decision was influenced by the arguments of Evelyn Hooker and Alfred Kinsey, whose data was fraudulently skewered by blatant population sampling bias and the badgering, and even bribing of its imprisoned and largely otherwise institutionalized subjects. Hooker's study, which contained no details of the specific procedure involved, failed the most basic tenets of the scientific method. The inadequacy of her research was even acknowledged by the journal that published it.
That was false. Go ahead.
Authentic scientific studies show that homosexuality is linked to pedophilia.
Stop. That's conjecture. But that's somewhat conjecture and somewhat not. I'll say this. It does bridge into that. Now, what he mentioned earlier about go back up a little bit and we move fast. Go back up. Regarding the study, being a mental illness. In the military, they had a rule. It's called don't ask, don't tell, right? That rule was if you were homosexual, you cannot join the military. You are not allowed to enroll or enlist in the military because if you're homosexual, then you cannot be a functioning soldier. That's what they're right. Right. Don't ask, don't tell law was put in there so that you don't have to say it. You can't ask them if you're homosexual. Because back then, if you said yes, then they would immediately remove you from the force. But you're not psychologically stable to be working with men in the war. So they added a rule of don't ask, don't tell law for homosexuals in the military. So it says authentic scientific studies show that homosexuality is linked to pedophilia. That's not entirely true, but I can show an historical account that it does link together. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're a pedophile if you're homosexual. I'm not saying that. We're not saying that up here. That's conjecture, but it is somewhat linked. Go to Wikipedia, homosexuality in ancient Greece. Now remember, America is an extension of the Greco-Roman Empire. America is an extension of the Greco-Roman Empire. All right? And Greece borrowed much of their ideologies and philosophies from Egypt. And Egypt was also involved in homosexuality. They would reverence a god known as Jeb. And what Jeb did was, now you got children in here, I will set you up covered ears. This class is going to get a little bit rated R here. There was a god named Jeb. And what Jeb did, well, I'll put it nicely. And what Jeb did to bring forth his children was he went down on himself, let off in his mouth, and spit his kids out. And so the Egyptians, in honor of that god, men would do the same thing. They would let off in their own mouths and spit themselves out. It's called autofellatio. It's very high, self-fellatio. So fellatio is a fancy way of saying what we say in the streets, head or blow job, so forth.
But Eytan, I don't understand how a man's head could go down.
Well, they did that. The men, they were flexible and they could do that. They could do that. I'm not going to sit here and explain it to you.
I just can't see it.
I'm just letting you know that's what they was doing. That's what they was doing.
They probably put it in a cup and drink it or something.
No. They would fuck themselves. They could do it. They could do it. I'm not even going to put the pictures up because there's people in here. You come across things you don't want to come across and you try to do a class. Anyway, homosexuality in ancient Greece.
Want me to
read that? Let's read that.
Homosexuality in ancient Greece.
Now go down here. Now these are the ancient Greeks. These are the Greeks before the white man took over. Okay, it says young man and teenager engaging in intercrural sex. Okay, I'm not going to explain what intercrural means. There's a lot going on. It says fragment of a black figure. See that? That's how the original Greeks looked. Black. It says fragment of a black figure. Because that's the original Greeks. And then the white Edomites came along and adopted and assumed the identity of the original Greeks and did the same thing that they was doing. Because they're naturally disgusting people. Read it again.
In classical...
That's Japheth doing that. Intercrural sex is when you... No. Read it. Read it. The classical... I'm not going to explain it. Just read that. Just read it.
In classical antiquity, writers such as Herodotus, Plato, Xenophon, Athenaeus, and many others explored aspects of homosexuality in ancient Greece. The most widespread and socially significant form of same-sex sexual relations in ancient Greece was between adult men and pubescent or adolescent boys.
Pedophilia.
Known as pederasty.
That's pedophilia. Go ahead.
Marriages in ancient Greece between men and women also were age structured, with men in their 30s commonly taking wives in their early teens.
Go ahead.
Though sexual relationships between adult men did exist, at least one member of each of these relationships flouted social conventions by assuming a passive sexual role.
Role playing. Female won't play the male. Go ahead.
It is unclear how such relations between women were regarded in the general society, but examples do exist as far back as time of Sappho.
Go down. Let me see what I'm looking for. Go down. Go down. Pederasty. That's basically pedophilia right there. It was heavily immersed in that. They said that the strongest love between anyone is between a male and a boy. They hated women. That's why they call it, the term misogyny comes from them. It means woman haters. The Greeks hated women. They felt the strongest love between anyone was between a male and a young man and a grown man. That was their ideology. They only used women to procreate. They didn't love women. They just used them to make more of themselves, but they loved little boys. That was their thing. Like Alexander and his boy, I think Hephaestion or Hephaestus. Those are lovers. That's why he died from syphilis doing the stuff he was doing. Nambla, basically, yeah. Let me see what I'm looking for.
Hey, and you had mentioned syphilis, right?
Syphilis, yeah.
Syphilis is a STD, is an infection.
Yeah.
You understand? Because what happened is, as I said, what happened when we do stuff, when a man put his peck away, don't supposed to go, he get infected. You understand? So that's where a lot of these sickness come from us doing things that they don't supposed to be doing.
Okay, start from for this reason.
For this reason, pedophilia was not considered to be a homosexual act.
It was between a male and another boy. It's homosexual. Go ahead.
Given that the man would be taking on a dominant role and his disciple would be taking on a passive one. When intercourse occurred between two people of the same gender, it still wasn't entirely regarded as a homosexual union. Given that one partner would have to take on a passive role and would therefore no longer be considered a man in terms of sexual union.
So the Greeks said, listen, if the man plays the woman role and the man plays the man role, it's not really gay because he feels he's a woman. That's where they get it from. So one man played a woman, one man plays the man, the passive role, the dominant role. So they said, well, he plays the woman relationship, they're not really homosexual.
That's the sickness that they're trying to do now.
Yeah,
with the
gender
women.
bending. It's the same exact thing. It's the same thing.
They got the woman with the Timberland shirt and the boots and all of that.
They call them aggressives. They call them the aggressives.
And then they have the they got all kinds of words for them, you know. But they got the woman, so the woman of the woman relationship.
Right.
Is
right. You even got it. This goes also with these jailhouse dung low brothers that say, I wasn't receiving it, I was giving it, so I'm not a homosexual. You understand? That's that jailhouse mentality. Same thing.
Yep. Romans 1:21. So this thing was very well known that those things link together. The homosexual act and the pedophilia thing, those did link together in ancient Greece and Rome. They did link together. So he's partially right in the article. Not saying homosexuals are natural pedophiles. I'm not saying that, but those sins, that uncleanness and vileness, did link to that in ancient times.
Romans 1:25.
1.
The book of Romans, chapter 1, verse 21. Because that when they knew God, they glorified him not as God, neither were thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened.
Right. Vain in your imagination means you make excuses for your sin. Go ahead to do it.
Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools and changed the glory of the uncorruptible God into an image made like to corruptible man, and to birds and four-footed beasts and creeping things.
Right, because when you fall behind idolatry, those acts fall behind it. Those homosexual acts, reveling, all that stuff took place behind it. Like I mentioned earlier, in Egypt, there was a god named Jeb, and that god did that, and in order to reverence that god, you would do what your gods did. And in that instance, they would do that. They would go down themselves and spit themselves out. That's what they would do. Disgusting. Go ahead.
Wherefore also God gave them up to uncleanness through the lust of their own hearts, to dishonor their own bodies between themselves.
That's what happened involving idolatry. Go ahead.
Who changed the truth of God into a lie, and worshipped and served the creature more than the Creator.
Right, worship man or idols more than the Creator. Go ahead.
Who is blessed forever. Amen.
Who changed the truth of God into a lie and worship the creature, serve the creature more than the Creator. Your 2 Maccabees 4:15. 2 Maccabees 4:15 explains serving the creature more than the Creator. That's what we did during the time of the Greeks. We read about the Greeks. Let's see what Israel started to do as well. 2 Maccabees 4, verse 15 and 16.
The book of 2 Maccabees, chapter 4, verse 15. Not setting by the honors of their fathers, but liking the glory of the Grecians best of all.
Of the Greeks best of all. Go ahead.
By reason whereof sore calamity came upon them, for they had them to be their enemies and avengers.
They were our oppressors. Go ahead.
Whose custom they followed so earnestly.
That was a Greek custom doing that, mess with little boys and homosexuality. That was their custom. We followed so earnestly. Go ahead.
And unto whom they desired to be like in all things.
We desired to be like the Greeks rather than follow our God in all things. In all things, including what we just read earlier, pederasty, homosexuality, we fall behind all of that stuff. Same thing happened. Let's get a picture. I want Taye Diggs' Madonna. Some of y'all know who Taye Diggs is as an actor. He was in the movie Brothers. Married to Edom, of course. Love Edom, hates himself. And he decided to do a lip sync battle. You had Neo did the Boys the Men, Motown Philly performance, lip singing battle. And then Taye Diggs did the Madonna Vogue performance. Just like Madonna. I'm not even going to play the video because it's ridiculously embarrassing for our people. It sets us back 50 years with his nonsense. Just type in image, just type in Taye Diggs Madonna. Let's see how this idiot looks. Look at this dumb, stupid Negro. That's him dressed as Madonna. Performing. Lip sync battle performances. All right? He did it. He was on stage and did just that. Neo was playing Boyz II Men. He's doing Madonna Vogue. Y'all can watch a video on your own. I'm not playing that in here. It's even worse. Deuteronomy 32, verse 32. 31.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 32, verse 31. For their rock is not as our rock.
Their gods are not as our God. Go ahead.
Even our enemies themselves being judges.
They became leaders. They became rulers over us. Go ahead.
For their vine is of the vine of Sodom.
These nations, their vine is of the vine of Sodom. Go ahead.
And of the fields of Gomorrah.
And their fruits are of Gomorrah. Homosexuality. Go ahead.
Their grapes are grapes of gall. Their clusters are bitter. Their wine is the poison of dragons, and the cruel venom of asps.
Their doctrines and their philosophies are poisonous, vile, and reek of homosexuality. That's what he's saying here. That's what he's saying.
You got to read those attributes again. They're what?
For their vine is of the vine of Sodom.
Go ahead.
And of the fields of Gomorrah.
We got that part.
Their grapes are grapes of gall.
They're grapes. This is all talking about philosophy. Wine. Grapes is wine.
Yep.
If you listen to them, you're going to die. That's what they're saying.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Their clusters are bitter.
Go ahead.
Their wine is the poison of dragons.
Their wine is the poison of dragons and snakes. So if you start associating with that kind of business, just like the scriptures say, the neighbor is is more excellent than his neighbor. The righteous is more excellent than his neighbor. But the way of the wicked seduceth them.
Yep.
If you hang around this kind of conversation, you be around this kind of, you will get bitten.
Yep.
That's why it says grapes of gall. You gonna die. You mess around with that mess.
That's why I mentioned earlier about your environment, your atmosphere, you're exposed to, whether it be a traumatic experience, what you're exposed to, who you're exposed to, what you're exposed to. Especially, he remember the guy said on TC, and he said, "We're the best place to go to when you're confused. Then school." I'm like, huh? That's the venom of ass. That's the venom right there. That's that wine he's talking about. Get Psalm 58, verse 3.
That's the proof as to why the increase of them has grown so much, because they spread that gall to a lot of people.
Uh-huh.
And they became poison just like them.
And the Dark Knight legalized it.
Exactly. That's the reason why it's pervasive all over the place now.
Yep.
Now you ain't got no garden no more. It's full of weeds now.
Yep. Psalms 58, verse 3.
The book of Psalms, chapter 58 and verse 3. The wicked are estranged from the womb.
Like that from the very beginning, from their conception. Go ahead.
They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies.
Edom is like this. That's their nature. From birth. That's why they're so good at it. They make a lie sound so good it's believable. They'll give you the most craziest nonsense. You'll believe it. But they're good at it. Go ahead.
Their poison is like the poison of a serpent.
Uh-huh.
They are like the death adder that stoppeth the ear, her ear, which will not hearken to the voice of charmers, charming never so wisely.
You can't stop them. They're going to do it regardless. It's the same thing that he said in Deuteronomy 32. It's the same exact thing that was said in Deuteronomy.
You can't charm that snake with the Bible.
At all.
That's
You
what
cannot
he's saying.
charm
Their
with the Bible.
spirit is against the Bible. Some of these, you can't do nothing with them. That's what he's saying. You can never charming never so wisely. You cannot charm them. They don't want the scriptures at all.
Don't want it. Yep. Romans 1, verse 26. Going back to Romans 1 again. That evil Sodom, Gomorrah doctrine of the spirit is in them. It's innate. It's there. Even the ones that say they're against it, and somewhat, the guy said in the article, he says, well, they're kind and so forth, but their actions are wrong. No, I don't care about their kindness. It's wrong, period.
Those kinds of spirits, because in the scriptures, I don't know if you're going to get it. In Corinthians, they say, and such were some of you.
Let me get that.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to leave it.
Romans 1, verse 26.
The book of Romans, chapter 1, verse 26. For this cause God gave them up unto vile affections.
For worshiping the creature more than the creator, he gave them to what?
Unto vile affections.
Vile affections. Queer affections. Go ahead.
For even their women did change their natural use into that which is against nature.
That goes back to what it said, natural law. They go against natural law. Read again.
For this cause God gave them up unto vile affections. For even their women did change their natural use into that which is against nature.
Go ahead.
And likewise also the men.
Went against nature or natural law. Go ahead.
And likewise also the men, leaving the natural use of the woman, burned in their lust one toward another.
Serving man rather than creator. Serving idols. Go ahead.
Men with men, working that which is unseemly.
Queer.
And receiving in themselves that recompense of their error, which was meat.
Disease. Grid. Syphilis. Go ahead.
And even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge.
If they hate, they what? They despise dominion. They despise government. Right. Go ahead.
God gave them over to a reprobate mind.
A mind that lacks judgment. Go ahead.
To do those things which are not convenient.
Queer. Go ahead.
Being filled with all unrighteousness, fornication.
Being filled with all unrighteousness. All of it. Unrighteous. Go ahead. Fornication. Go ahead.
Being filled with all unrighteousness, fornication.
That's what that is.
Wickedness, covetousness.
Desiring things that don't belong to you. A man desiring a man is covetousness. Woman desiring a woman is covetousness. That doesn't belong to her. Man belongs to woman. Woman belongs to man. Go ahead.
Maliciousness.
Maliciousness goes back to evil intent. Go ahead.
Full of envy.
That's why I mentioned earlier how they want to be you. They're deceptive. They desire to be women or desire to be men and replace both of us. That goes into that envy. That's why she said earlier in the video, she says that it's an attack against masculinity and feminism. It's an attack against both. It's to blur the lines. Go ahead.
Murder. Debate.
Murder, that goes back to that hateful spirit they had in Sodom and Gomorrah trying to get Lot and the angels. Murder, go ahead.
Debate.
They'll argue with you to the ground with science and all that. These are gay genes and that. And you're homophobic. You're transphobic. You're so-and-so. You're this and this. It's debate. When you go against it, you don't accept it, now you're the enemy. Now you're insensitive. You need inclusiveness training.
They got a camera while they're telling you.
Right, or they'll film us while we're teaching to try to catch us in something. Go ahead, debate.
Deceit.
Deceit behind it. It's all deceit and confusion. Go ahead.
Malignity.
This goes back to being malicious. Go ahead.
Whisperers.
Go ahead.
Backbiters. Haters of God. Despiteful. Proud.
You go that pride again.
Boasters.
Arrogant.
Inventors of evil things.
That's the surgeries, the strap-ons, all that other stuff.
You heard the word inventors of evil things.
Excuses, all of that.
You got deviancy on your mind, and you're trying to think of contraptions to help you go into the abyss, into this madness.
Depths of Satan.
Into the depths of Satan.
That's what that is. Go ahead.
Disobedient to parents.
Disrespectful to their family. Go ahead.
Without understanding. Covenant breakers. Without natural affection.
Without natural affection. Go ahead.
Implacable. Unmerciful.
Implacable goes into being merciless. Unrelenting. That's what implacable means. Go ahead.
Unmerciful.
It's the same as implacable. Go ahead.
Who knowing the judgment of God.
Who knowing the judgment of God. Because a lot of them go to church and they'll say, oh, King James is gay. They chop all kinds of scapegoats. King James is homosexual. Oh, there's a gay Bible now. David loved Jonathan. He was gay. You get all kinds of excuses behind him. All kinds of excuses. But God is love. He doesn't care about my sexual orientation. God sees past that. He sees my heart. But he sees the gayness too, Negro. You don't like that either. Read again.
Who knowing the judgment of God, that they which commit such things are worthy of death.
Are worthy of what?
Are worthy of death.
Those who commit such things are worthy of death. Go ahead.
Not only do the same.
Not only are guilty of the actions. Go ahead.
But have pleasure in them that do them.
But consent means you are an ally. They call you an ally. When you are with it or down with it, they go, he's an ally. You're going to die with them. If you're not gay and go, well, I ain't got a problem with them, they ain't got a problem with me, I don't bother them, you're going to die with them. You're part of the problem too then. So if you consent to it or you agree to it and you're not homosexual, you're going to die with them. That's what it's saying here.
The book of Ezekiel 9:4 says what it says there. It said that this mark of this wisdom is supposed to be upon your forehead, upon all of the men that sigh and cry against all of the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. So you can't be neutral when it comes to that. You have to be just what the scriptures say. Have to be
hot or cold.
Have like the New Testament say, and having in a readiness to revenge all disobedience.
Yep.
That's what that's talking about.
I'm going to give you an example of those who are going to die along with him. Genesis 19 and verse 12. We're going to go back to Lot again.
The book of Genesis, chapter 19 and verse 12. And the men said unto Lot, hast thou here any besides, son-in-law, and thy sons, and thy daughters, and whatsoever thou hast in the city? Bring them out of this place.
Get them out of here. Go ahead.
For we will destroy this place, because the cry of them is waxing great before the face of the Lord.
Evil's too much. I'm going to destroy this place. Go ahead.
And the Lord hath sent us to destroy it.
Go ahead.
And Lot went out and spake unto his sons-in-law, which married his daughters, and said.
So his sons-in-law were obviously what? Hebrews. You had Hebrews living there. It wasn't just Ham there. He had sons that married his daughters. He was a righteous man. He would have married his daughters over to the Hamites, because that was against their tradition to do that. You had Hebrews living in the land. That's why I brought this point out. Read again.
And Lot went out. And
that's why Abraham prayed for them, because you had Hebrews among them. Read again.
And Lot went out and spake unto his sons-in-law, which married his daughters, and said, Up, get you out of this place, for the Lord will destroy this city. But he seemed as one that mocked unto his sons-in-law.
They didn't believe him. His sons-in-law did not believe him. They said, what, destroy this place? Man, you crazy, man. Not going to happen to Sodom and Gomorrah. You crazy. Stop playing around, lie. You joke too much, man. They didn't take him seriously. Go ahead.
And when the morning arose, then the angels hastened Lot, saying, Arise, take thy wife, and thy 2 daughters which are here, lest thou be consumed in the iniquity of this city.
Yeah, I'm going to kill your 2 sons-in-law. So just take your wives and your daughter, and let's take your wife and daughters and get out of here. I'm going to kill those 2. Go ahead.
And while he lingered, the men laid hold upon his hand, and upon the hand of his wife, and upon the hand of his 2 daughters, the Lord being merciful unto him. And they brought him forth and set him without the city.
Within a second, that's power right there. He just teleported them out of the city. He took them by the hand, and they all boom, out of the city. It's that fast. Go ahead.
And it came to pass, when they had brought them forth abroad, that he said, Escape for thy life.
Get out of here.
Look not behind thee.
Do not look behind you when we destroy this place. Keep your head turned. Do not look back. Do not look back when we destroy this place. Go ahead.
Neither stay thou in all the plain.
Don't stay near here. Go ahead.
Escape to the mountain, lest thou be consumed.
Go ahead.
And Lot said unto them, Oh, not so, my lord. Behold now.
Jump down. He asked him if he can go to a city called Zoar. He goes there. Can I go to that? Rather than go to a mountain, can I go to that city over there called Zoar? Means little. Angel said, okay, fine, go over there. Go to Zoar. Jump down to verse 24.
Verse 24. Then the Lord rained upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven. And he overthrew those cities.
Those 5 cities, go ahead.
And all the plain, and all the inhabitants of the cities, and that which grew upon the ground. But his wife looked back from behind.
But what happened?
But his wife looked back from
They're
behind.
funny. Homos are funny. That's the spirit. His wife looked back because she missed it over there. She was content with that stuff. That's why the main allies of homosexuals is women. The main one. Brothers like, hell no, I ain't with that, man. Or they do it secretly, but women are open with it. They're homosexual. What's wrong with that? But that's why it says a lot. Wife looked back because she got put to death because she was in agreement with that nonsense. The Lord doesn't like that.
Right.
And the sons are in agreement with it also. They got put to death right along with her.
Right. One of the reasons why Lot's wife looked back, right? You all remember in the beginning that when Lot was with Abraham, both of them had riches. It was too much. So Abraham said, told Lot, listen, if you go this way, I'm going to go that way. You know, if I go that way, if you go that way, I go the opposite way because riches is getting too much. So when Lot went into Sodom and when he was living in the land, he had riches. He had wealth. So guess what? Lot's wife, she had wealth. You understand? So when she was leaving, guess what was running through her mind was all that wealth and all that she given up. You understand? That's why she looked back. You know, it's all the possession and the good life she had over there. She wasn't watching at because some sisters comfortable with the wickedness. I'll see it straight. You're living comfortable. You all got some money. You're comfortable with the wickedness. You're seeing the wickedness and it don't really bother you all. But Lot, when Lot see it, it was getting him upset. He couldn't take it. You know, some of you sisters, you're going to sit down and watch basketball wives and all them different evil shows that you'll be watching. You all know what you'll be watching. You understand? And it don't phase you all. You're going to sit down and watching homosexual kissing and so forth, and it don't phase you all because you all get comfortable in this society. You understand? The same thing with Lot's wife. Lot was rich, his wife was rich, and she turned back because she was giving up a lot. You understand? So that's why Christ said, he that loseth his life shall find his life. Because some of you all might be rich in this truth, and you're going to got to give up all them riches if you all want the kingdom. You know, you all got to watch out that for loss, because America going to be destroyed. All that money, all of that stuff you got here in America, the big house with the pool in the backyard, all of that going to be destroyed. You understand? You all got to be willing to give all of that up. You know?
When the Most High was speaking to Lot, he told Lot everything that he wanted him to do, right? You don't think Lot told his family? But because just like what y'all was bringing up, huh?
They were standing right there. Right. They held their hands, teleported them out the city all together.
Y'all hear this? But she still wanted to look back.
Read it again, 26 again.
But his wife looked back from behind him, and she became.
So as they're walking away, he's in front of her, and she sneaks a look, peek, boom, behind him. Go ahead.
But his wife looked back from behind him, and she became a pillar of salt.
So imagine that. You say, honey, you all right? Turn around, you see a pillar of salt there. You know he was messed up from that. That messed him up. That's why he got drunk at that time. That messed him up. Get on Wisdom of Solomon 10 verse 6. So the question is, why she look back? We're explaining it, but why she look back? Let's see. Remember, the angels held her by the hand, took her husband and her 2 daughters, and teleported them out of the city within a blink of an eye, right? Wisdom of Solomon 10 and verse 6. We're going to read to verse 8.
The book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 10 and verse 6.
Solomon's going to explain it.
When the ungodly perished, she delivered the righteous man, who fled from the fire which fell down upon the 5 cities.
You just read that. Watch this, verse 7.
Of whose wickedness even to this day the wasteland that smoketh is a testimony, and plants bearing fruit that never come to ripeness.
So even to that, so Solomon's time, in that area where Sodom and Gomorrah was, plants didn't grow there. It was a desolate wasteland even up until Solomon's time. Go ahead.
And the standing pillar of salt is a monument of an unbelieving soul.
In a what?
And a pit. And
No. And a standing what?
And a standing pillar of salt is a monument of an unbelieving soul.
Is a sign of an unbelieving soul. She didn't believe. She did not believe what the angels told her to do. Don't look back. She said, nah, that's impossible. He ain't going to destroy this place. He ain't going to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. That's impossible. I got to see it with my own eyes. Sodom and Gomorrah destroyed. She did not believe it. Look back and make sure it's destroyed. She said, don't look back.
So you can understand exactly what I was saying earlier. When you read in Peter's, it says how he was vexed by the conversation of the wicked.
Psalm 10.
He was going through all of that. You don't think she heard? You don't think she understood how vexed he was? So when it was their time to go, what the hell is she looking back for?
Mm-hmm. Unbelieving soul.
Unbelieving soul.
Read verse 8.
Verse 8. For regarding not wisdom, they got not only this hurt, that they knew not the things which were good, but also left behind them to the world a memorial of their foolishness.
Sodom and Gomorrah, go ahead.
So that in the things wherein they offended, they could not so much be as hid.
Because the whole world knows about it now. That's why we call it sodomy now. The whole world knows about Sodom and Gomorrah. The whole world knows the fate of it. And the fate of it again spiritually in this place. Get Luke 17:29.
The book of Luke, chapter 17, verse 29. But the same day that Lot went out of Sodom, it rained fire and brimstone from heaven and destroyed them all. Even thus shall it be in the day when the Son of Man is revealed.
The same thing is going to happen over here. That's why it was written in the first place. Go ahead.
In that city, he which shall be upon the housetop, and his stuff in the house.
No, in that day. Read again.
In that day, he which shall be upon the housetop, and his stuff in the house, let him not come down to take it away.
Malachi brought out earlier. She loved the possessions. He's saying, forget that stuff. When it's time to go, it's time to go. Go ahead.
And he that is in the field, let him likewise not return back.
To get it. Go ahead. Watch this.
Remember Lot's wife.
That's that one verse. Remember Lot's wife and what she did. Remember what happened to her. When this place is just up in flames, don't have no regrets about being destroyed, or you'll die along with it.
Shalom. This is Bishop Nathaniel of Israel United in Christ. Please subscribe to our YouTube channels. Stay up to date with our latest events, music, and classroom lessons. IUIC plans to continue visiting different countries where this gospel has not been preached before. IUIC needs your help in pushing this truth. So join us. Subscribe to our Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and podcasts, and stay up to date with us. For more information, please visit www.israelunite.org.